Well, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Wow, how could I forget? It's a Tuesday. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. We're not even halfway through the week. So, we just take it one day at a time. I'm streaming a bit late because I took an afternoon nap, which ended up lasting past the afternoon. Which, I'm happy. I got some sleep. But I do need to fix my sleep schedule. What time did I go to sleep yesterday? I think I went to sleep at like 3 in the morning. And I don't have a good excuse. I ended up staying up watching a new Netflix show called The Wonder... I don't even know what it's called. It's like some Korean superhero comedy show. The Wonderfuls. Yeah, I think I'm on like episode 5 or something. Basically, the point is I got a little distracted watching too much random entertainment, and went to sleep at like 3 or 4. I woke a bit early this morning, couldn't go back to sleep. It's just one of those days. I think I was like semi-productive, but I could have been better. And then I took a nap, and unfortunately after that nap, it was game over for me. So I thank you guys for tuning in, even though it is now 8:30 p.m. my time. Wherever you guys are, I appreciate you hopping through. Also, I need to turn on this little fan here because I'm starting to overheat already. And you know what? Let me turn on the AC. Are my cats here? One of my cats is here. Let me switch over to them as I wander around my apartments. Oh, look at her. Look how adorable Nala is. Nala says hi. Kimbap is wandering around. And let me go ahead and turn up the AC. No, turn down the AC. No, is that right? Do you turn up the AC if you want it cooler? Or you technically are turning down the AC? Oh my god, something to look into. Okay, I got my little hair tie thing as well because my hair is getting a bit. Is this the longest my hair has been? Let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit almost to the nipples there. I did say at some point I'm gonna definitely chop it all off. When I do, I'll make sure to stream it for your viewing pleasure. Just give me a moment here. Alright, much better. Okay, here we go. We'll start over. Hello everyone, welcome to my stream. This is the 146th stream of mine since I started. Back in, was it mid-June or July? Somewhere around there is when I did the first stream ever. And then we just kind of went from there. We've learned a lot, we've loved a lot, we've laughed a lot. 146, what does that mean in terms of actual, how many months is that? Is that, oh my god, I can't do quick maths anymore. 6 months, roughly, in terms of the total days, right? So there's a lot of learnings from that, for sure. I appreciate all of you guys who've been helping me out in terms of every time I make technical difficulties and whatever else that comes with it. But it's definitely been quite a journey. I am actually behind the scenes. I'm working on a YouTube video where I'm going to break down my first, I think it was 46 days in a row. If I did the math, I was looking at the data beforehand. I think I streamed about 46 days nonstop or consecutively, I guess, around 7 to 8 hours per stream. That was like what I did to kick off my streaming journey as I was trying to break as many things, see what works. And it's been fun, right? So I think I'll definitely put some YouTube video together where I just kind of consolidate all of my key learnings. Hello, Katzenellenbogen. Over on the YouTube side says nearly 5. Nearly 5, as in nearly 5 months, I think is what you're saying, yeah? Hopefully you're having a good day. Guten Abend over in Germany. Yeah, I guess it's been 5 to 6 months. And I figure it's about time. If I was better, if I was faster, if I had an editor back in the day when I was going through the editor struggles, I definitely wanted to make this video much earlier. I wanted to make like a, hey, here's my first month of live streaming. Here's what I've learned. And then I was going to make another one for my second month of streaming and blah, blah, blah. Instead, here we are, 146 streams later, and I decided I think it's about time I put together my learnings into a video. So for those of you who want to get into live streaming or are just curious, like what does it take to do it? Not that I have all the answers, but that's the point. I just want to share like in my journey, what worked, what didn't work, what were some pleasant surprises, what were the big challenges and struggles. But clearly, I've enjoyed it enough that I'm still here. So good day, says Gatsanel and Boggin. But yeah, so that's one of the random videos that I'm working on behind the scenes. And I do need to, I'm still working on my live streaming stuff, which reminds me, shout out to Cyronius. I saw his message come through. Let me just quickly respond to him. Want me to put it together for you? Yes, please. If you can put it together for me, because I am no DIY guy, sadly. Okay, boom, done. Ooh. Yo. Katzenell and Boggin with the epic super chat with the ZAR. Is that the ZAR? Also, I apologize. I didn't hear the actual voice. The TTS didn't seem to go through there, but I saw. I mean, I looked.
I'm in South Africa at the moment. Almohadilla Wildlands.
Yo, thank you so much, Castanel and Boggin, for the epic donation, the super chat for 14 ZAR. What is ZAR? I'm assuming because you said you're in South Africa. Is that the Rand? I know there's like is it South African Rand? R-A-N-D. Is that what it is? Here, let me just double check. ZAR stands for South Africa. Yes. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you very much for the donation, Katzenell and Boggin. You're in South Africa. Are you here? Are you there for, oh, you said for #wildlife. Yo, what are you shooting with? What national park are you at? I've never done wildlife in South Africa. Like, I know everyone goes to Kruger. I have yet to be able to do that. It is on my list though, because I think there are some connections through Nikon. They have a big outreach in South Africa. So, I think if I can plan a trip to South Africa, there's some ways that I could do some partnerships to kind of lessen the cost, let's just say, because wildlife is not cheap. But thank you again. I hope you see some incredible sightings. And also, I'm curious what you're shooting with. What lenses are you bringing with you? That kind of fun stuff. So yeah, feel free to share or just enjoy. All right, well, that's an awesome way to start the stream. Thank you very much. I'm headed for the Kruger. Oh, man. Well, have fun. Maybe we should watch some YouTube videos on Kruger National Park so I can hype myself up as well to visit someday. I have some guests that have joined me in the past on my trips. One of them, he's been to, there's like a private game reserve in South Africa that has like incredible, the Pomodoro, something like that. Okay, we'll look into it in a second. But first, as we kick off our stream, am I missing anything? Oh yeah, hold on. Let me open up one more tab over here and then I'll switch over. Oh, and then in the meantime, are my cats like moving around in the background? Yeah, what's going on? Well, good timing. What are my cats doing on the workout bench? I think it's because the bench is awkwardly placed because I was just filming a video over the weekend and I'm too lazy, so I just left the bench there. So to my cats, it feels like it's a new bed that came out of nowhere type thing as I put the blanket there. So anyways, Kimpap, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Good boy. I wonder if I can, do I have the lens on autofocus or? Hold on. I'll just manually try to focus it over there. Look at these guys. Okay, so I have my windows opened up. I think we're ready to go to start off the stream. There it is. Okay. Cool. Katzenell and Boggin says, I'm headed for the Kruger Sony A9 Mark III plus a 300 f2.8 and the Nikon Z9 Mark. What? Oh, you're just yanking my chain. Yo, I was gonna say, like, what you're rocking like some crazy gear. I don't know much about Sony, so you could have tricked me with any assortment of letters and mark numbers. A 300 2.8 though would be nice. Z9 Mark II. When is that Z9 Mark II coming out? What the heck? I think we were all waiting with bated breath. Z9 Mark II release date. Nikon has not officially announced or released the Z9 Mark II. Industry reports and trusted sources suggest the official release is delayed and not expected until late 2026. By the way, that's good for me, by the way. Oh, wait, Katzenell and Boggin, you made a typo. Oh, okay. I thought you were yanking my chain. I was like, oh, you're just giving me like a dream lineup or something, right? Because a 300 2.8, music to my ears. And then 180 to 600 is a fantastic range for wildlife, probably the best. And at 5.6, 6.3, that's actually pretty decent because I'm assuming when you're out there, there should be enough sunlight. And with the Z9, technically, you can shoot. It's pretty good in low light, in my opinion. So you're in good hands. My God, you're gonna get some crazy shots. I wish you the best. I have a video coming up. Katzenell Boggin says I meant the Z9. It should have been A9 Mark II. Okay, you're just throwing numbers at me and seeing if I would pay attention, huh? I do have a video coming out. I'm working with my editor on it. It's a new behind the lens episode. So again, just a quick reminder, I started a new series on YouTube where it's more casual stuff, so not the cinematic things. It's just me talking to the camera, lying on a workout bench here with my cats, and then cameras up on the ceiling. And so I've been trying to see if I can publish one of those videos every week. Obviously, since I was traveling for 2 months, I had to put some of that on pause. This video is going to be about a motto of mine that I came up with it myself. Not that it's the most creative thing or anything, but it's catchy. And it's something that I tell all of my guests when they join me on my wildlife trips. And it's something I try to share as much as possible, especially for wildlife photographers. It's expect anything, enjoy everything. And it rolls off the tongue. It's hard to forget. But I think it's very poignant for wildlife safari experiences, especially for photographers, because you're looking for the best shot. You spend a lot of money, right? And you're hoping, you have high expectations. You've seen everyone else take the incredible photos and they post it on social media, you know, from National Geographics and everything else, like, oh my God, we're ready to go. And nature never, matches your call or what you want. You can't tell the animal to pose for you and strike a pose to get the shot or redo if you made a mistake. So unfortunately, it comes with the territory that when you're doing these wildlife trips, you are going to get frustrated, whether it's because of mistakes you make in the moment, you miss the shot, you get a blurry moment, or you had the wrong settings, you left the lens cap on, or it wasn't your fault necessarily. Maybe some other tourist in a vehicle blocks your shot, or they're being super noisy, or they just ruin the moment in whatever way. There's like so many things that can kind of ruin an experience that you really shouldn't feel that way about, So anyways, I always tell people that expect anything, enjoy everything, because that's also the beauty of wildlife photography, is that it's unpredictable. If you could always get the exact shot that you wanted, right, then would we actually enjoy doing wildlife photography? Like, you might as well at that point just do landscape photography, or like, oh, okay, I know the mountain's always going to be right here at this spot with this lighting, so boom, I'll get the shot and I'm happy. It's like, okay, fine, but where's the excitement in that, So anyways, I am rambling a bit, but Katzenell and Boggin, it sounds very exciting. I don't know if you're on my Discord already or not, but feel free, if you do have Discord and you want to join our Discord community, hop on in there. And if you end up taking some epic shots, when you take some epic shots, feel free, if you want to show us some of those key moments, you can pop it into the Discord channel. So yeah. All right, so we have no news on the Z9 Mark II. I do think that's good news for me, selfishly, if they delay the release of the Z9 Mark II, because as long as I'm productive in these upcoming few months, it means I can hopefully continue building up some good rapport. I can keep creating new content and hopefully convince Nikon further that I am the one that they should partner with for every new launch of every new product. And by God, a Nikon Z9 Mark II is right up my god dang alley. That one plus if they can give me that plus the 120 to 300 f2.8 combo, yeah. So let's see. Its expected launch is Q4 2026 or maybe 2027. Also, Katzenell and Boggin, that's quite interesting. You're maybe the first person I know that travels with 2 camera systems. So you're rocking Sony and Nikon, which puts you in a good spot, obviously. Or like, no, I don't say obviously. It puts you in a good spot because you can obviously compare what works best between those 2 camera systems. But then, I don't know, Katzenell and Boggin, if you've done this already, but my understanding is the benefit of shooting with the Z9, like the Z cameras, is that you are able to easily adapt Sony lenses onto the Z9 or like the Z cameras. So like obviously you need a little adapter, but my understanding is that actually it is pretty seamless, the process of using Sony lenses on the Z cameras. So I would be curious what the results are like, or if you notice any issues, if you have that adapter. Reasons for delay, development adjustments, and reported shortages in key components like high-speed memory chips and CMOS sensors. It's likely going to be around almost $6,000 based on the original Z9 launch. Yeah, it would not surprise me. But I'm also interested in what is the rumor about the next Nikon cinema lens release. Now that we're entering into the world of cinema, I think this might actually take more precedent than getting the Z9 Mark II. I say almost, I don't know. I feel like the Z9 Mark II will be revolutionary, but I do want to keep having new tools that will push me further into the cinema world. So let's see. Delicious, my concoction. But wait, did I miss this announcement? A new Nikkor chapter begins. # Z Cinema. Oh my god. Okay, I need to have a chat with my contact at Nikon. Are they just shutting me out of all this exciting news? What the heck? Oh, such a tease from Nikon USA. Okay. Oh, it was for the NAB show. Okay, gotcha. Nikon has joined in releasing a YouTube video teasing a new Z Cinema glass. The video, which is also co-branded with red, it heralds a new Nikkor chapter. The lens is only shown in shadow, but behind it, videos of older Nikon lenses are projected. Okay, so they're assuming it's going to be like a wide angle. Well, hold on. It seems like the footage largely depicts wide-angle lenses, including a fisheye model and a 12 to 24. That could be a coincidence. The video also shows cinema-style controls, an autofocus manual focus switch, and a line, of lenses which could hint that what's being announced is a series rather than a single option. I'm happy with either. Okay, so they haven't said. I know that they have the 28 to 135 f4, but I gotta be honest, I would love to have a cinema lens that's in like the a bit wider aperture, you know? If I can have a 1 point something would be amazing. Man, so many interesting things. And your boy, hopefully they'll include me in any of these epic launches. But I gotta work hard for that, right? So what do I mean by working hard for that? Well, if you are new to the channel, or if you've been supporting me for a while, one of the best things you can do to learn about me and also to help me grow, besides what Katzenell and Boggin did, which is epic, by donating money and then chatting and watching the stream, is watching my latest YouTube videos. And the ones I just released actually were about Nikon, right? I released a number of videos about some of the key features of the Nikon Z6 III, which I really appreciate. and I was doing my best to try to make a more artistic spin on product features. So not like being like in your face about, hey guys, this is a Nikon Z6 III and it does this, this, and this. I wanted to be a little bit more like, yeah, just a little softer in its approach. So I hope you guys do check it out. I pinned the latest video on my chats, but if you show some love to those videos, obviously that's one of the ways that I can then show this to Nikon as like a little bit of more proof that, hey, I'm doing work, I'm creating stuff that hopefully, you know, you guys will want to promote and share, and hopefully it showcases what I'm able to create if you partner with me further on whatever it is. So anyways, those are that's kind of the key ways you can help me. One thing here, I think I need to increase there we go. I had to increase the aperture on this one. Katzenell and Boggin says, I don't adapt lenses on my Nikon. I like that Sony has so many lenses from anamorphics to some wired, obscure focus by wire lenses. Man, you're on another level there. That sounds pretty impressive though. Okay, we're gonna do a bit of a warm up here as per usual. I want to warm up my ears as we kick off the stream. So let's see how good my ears are today. Okay, that is a good start. Part of me wants to go fast, but you know what? Let's just... Not bad, not bad. Okay, I'm being consistent, I guess, with my rating, but... Boom, okay. Here we go, here we go. Okay, I'm usually under... I'm under the amount, so I should increase. Oh, Opposy says, what's up? That was good. Thank you. If you're talking about my epic ears, oh my god, yo, holy dude, we just surpassed yesterday's high score, which means I have to take another freaking screenshot. Yo, I got, on paper they gave me a 10 out of 10, or at least rounded up. They rounded up to 10 out of 10 for all 5. Boom. Yo. That means I made it into the 3 digits. 887 out of 807,000. It's a bit silly for me to feel so much pride over a silly game, but I'm feeling prideful. I got my initials here. Post score. Okay, can I post the score? Hells yeah. You know what? I gotta quit while I'm ahead. I'm not gonna be able to beat that. So, all right, we'll move on to a best out of 3. I need to win 2 out of 3 chess games, and then I can go on to my photo and video editing. Posey, thank you very much for your support. Yo, L thing in the chat as well. Thanks for tuning in, L. We got Cats and Ellen, L, a Posey. Appreciate you guys here. Oh shoot, wait. Oh, I thought the game started. Here, let's start up a game.
You would try golden ear training, guessing a random sine wave of a 20 to 20 kHz.
Oh shoot. Oh wait, I forgot to turn on the sound.
You would try golden ear training guessing a random sine wave of a 20 to 20 kHz.
So you should try golden ear training guessing a random sine wave of a 20. This sounds like, I have no idea what you just said. Is that like some kind of like perfect pitch person? Because I definitely don't think I don't have perfect pitch or anything like that. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm just a pleb. But yeah, if this is like some game I can play online, for sure, I'll hit it up. Katzenell and Bogan asks, did you use Luminar yet? No, but let's use it today. Let's use it today. It's the least I can do. I just haven't like gotten properly into photo editing mode for the most part, but we do have some clean images over here from Uganda. So I think let's run it through Luminar, see what we end up. Yeah, because before my trips, I was starting to play around with Luminar, but I never fully got into it because basically I left, right? I left for my travels. So let's do it today. All right, let's see. I'm a bit distracted here. This is actually good for me because it helps me train my multitasking abilities. I think I can improve my multitask. I think it's like a training. I believe you can improve your ability to multitask. I have no evidence of that, but we're just going to assume that for this. Elle says training perfect pitch really helpful when you want to adjust audio without guessing the frequency in an EQ. Oh yeah, you know what? I've said this before. I when it comes to editing videos and using DaVinci Resolve and all of that, the area I struggle the most right now, besides like using Fusion and like those like After Effects, things like that, the area I struggle the most is with the audio stuff. It's just, I do feel fairly confident in my, I think I have a good ear for things, but when it comes to using the tool and figuring out like what's the right things to adjust to make sure every setting is correct and there's good sound mixing and balancing and whatever else, that one I feel like I need more time to dedicate it to like using the tool properly. But yeah. Okay, I've been a bit distracted, but you know what? I think I'm in a good spot with this game. I don't feel too nervous. We've got a good defense. We got this nice line of defense with this pawn structure. Not that oh shoot, I don't know. Not that I know much, but I think it's actually not the best situation for me because he's got this white bishop and I have the pawns on the white spaces. So technically, if I'm not careful, eventually he could pick these off. But I don't feel as bad because I have my white bishop to protect my white pieces. So we shall see. I do have to worry about this queen here. Just laser focused on my king. You know, back off. He's taken. And then he's got his rook here. What to do? You know what? I'm just going to threaten the shit out of that rook. I'm just going to make him move that again. I'm going to make him waste a move. And then, what should I do? I don't actually know what to do here. This is a little bit... it's a little bit bizarre setup. You know what? We're going to lock up this... Look at this beautiful triangle here, okay? Yes, King Pop. Good boy. Oh, look who's joined. We got King Pop in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, making his biscuits. Good boy. Alright, this guy still hasn't moved yet, so I'm okay to keep it on the cat camera. Good boy. Yeah. Why are you going crazy over there? Okay, he's moved. Alright, so he's advancing that guy. What happens if I push the pawn, push in P? Then he has to move it back to one of these spots. I think I'm okay with that. Yeah, okay. Push in P. And then at some point I need to threaten this king somehow. I don't know how. I might just play the long game. Yeah, I'm gonna play the long game. I'm just gonna, basically I'm trying to move this queen here so that it's got a line of sight at the king. And then I can use this bishop to take this pawn and then he can't take it because the pawn is blocking. Does that make sense? I don't know how to explain it. I'm not smart enough to this. Okay, so I'm gonna move this here. Okay. Oh shoot, I gotta be careful. I think he's about to get this pawn because I can't take it with my pawn. Oh god. Oh no, but I'm in a good spot. Ha 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 ha. If he does that, actually I welcome him doing that because it does feel like a clever move if he were to take my top pawn piece here, knowing that I can't take it with this pawn because it's blocking. Unfortunately, he saw what I just saw, which is that then I can take this pawn with the queen and then take his knight. So but I still do need to move my king out of the way, so I'll move it to a black space. Oh shoot, I just gave him a pawn. It's okay, it's okay. Is it okay? I don't think it's okay, but let me protect this pawn now. The good news is you only got 20 seconds left. So Katsanel and Baga says my Wi-Fi is so bad. Oh shoot, I gotta be careful here. Give me a second. Now we're in crunch time. He's got 10 seconds left, so he's gonna do some speedy moves, Speedy Gonzalez moves. But I'm pretty comfy with what I've got. All right, so I'm setting myself up to do the move. I'm gonna use this bishop to take. Oh wait, but he's got this knight there. Oh, okay, we can do it. Loser. I think I can do this, right? Oh wait, wrong move. Bishop here, he can't take. And now he's got to move this. Yep, so he moved it there. Otherwise, but what I'll do is I'm gonna threaten the rook now. Oh shoot, but then he'll take that. Shoot, okay. Oh, but thankfully he's so desperate, running out of time, he didn't see the move. Now I check. Now I'm going to threaten the queen. I'm gonna back the knight out of the way. So now that I can just move my queen here, get a free, oh shoot, okay, I didn't see that coming. That's fine. That's fine, I think. Boom, okay. I'm gonna at least take this bishop. And we win. We win. Just like that. Katzenel Boggin says, my Wi-Fi is so bad, it's very choppy. I'll have to watch your VOD. Listen, no worries at all. Thank you very much, Katzenel Boggin. I appreciate it. I thank you for even suggesting that you'll watch the VOD. I'm glad that I could be entertaining enough for your viewing pleasure. And thank you again for the donation. It always feels very amazing that people are willing to support me with your time, with your energy, and with your wallets. Elthing says, like guessing 5K to 10K or 20 to 50 for the frequency. Okay. Wait, what is it called? Golden ear training. How to get golden ears from music. Anyone tried the golden ears collection? Has anyone here? What is all this? Why develop golden ears? Engineering. I like the pun. Okay, I have no idea what this is. I thought if it's like some kind of like almost like a game that I can play or a test I can take online, let me know if there's a link for that. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not taking a course. All right, so we got one game out of 3. Let's just win one more, and then we'll move on to edits. Oh, and I keep forgetting to turn on the audio setting for these games. It's whatever. What to do here? I think, you know what? I don't really do this, but I'm just gonna push the piece. I'm pushing the pawn forward. We're going crazy with it. I'll accept the trade. So now at least we got really nice pawn structure all the way creeping up. I think I should take it with my pawn, right? I think. Okay, I'm gonna threaten the queen here. And I'm gonna threaten the queen with my rook as well. So I'm playing some jujitsu moves here, all right? What should I do? I think I'm gonna back the bishop one spot. I think, because I can threaten with this. There's no point in that. He's got protection. Okay, so I'm gonna move this bishop back one, and I could always move it here to apply pressure to this pawn. He might move this pawn forward just to block. Ahaha. Wow, it always feels nice when I can guess the person's move as if I'm like some genius, which there's no science behind that. All right, what would he do next? He might move this pawn forward. I think I should start giving some space for my bishop to move back, because my bishop's in a good spot in terms of like laser focus sniping to the king there. And this bishop looks nice. So he's gonna want to move his queen out of the way. Otherwise, I'll, you know, his knight is stuck. And okay, here's what I'll do. I am gonna move this piece right here. So if he doesn't start doing something over here, move his king or something else, then is this game over? Oh, no. It's not game over yet. If I do this, because then I want to take this for a checkmate. The problem is, if I move this here, he'll move that there, which means I get a queen, he takes my queen. It's like an even Steven trade, I think. You know what? I think it's worth it. Let's just try it. So his only course here is to either push this pawn forward, which can be risky for him long term, or he can move this knight here and expect a trade-off. I think, because if he moves the knight here, I immediately will take his queen, but then he'll take my queen. Then I can take this pawn, but then he'll take the rook, so I can't do that. Okay. All right, good. I like this. So now, my goal is obviously to get my queen to this spot right there for a beautiful checkmate. So now he's feeling the pressure, which is good. I like it. So he did the right move here, but now I get a free knight. Don't mind if I do. And then if he moves it here, I'm going to move my bishop here. Huh. Okay. I mean, it's not the worst thing that he did. Okay, so I'm going to take this. And then at least my bishop survives. Oh, idiot. Even worse. He didn't even take my queen. Oh, GG's. All right, well, just like that. Man, today's a good day where we won our first, we're 2 for 2 on chess, and I've scored the best freaking score I've ever gotten on this sound game, the sound game. All right, well, there we go. Okay, so thanks guys for letting me play some video games. This is, by the way, the closest I get to being a quote unquote gaming streamer. I love video games. But I'm definitely I'm not good enough for any of them. I wonder, I guess the Mac Studio is powerful enough to run video games, or like Steam or something. But generally I just play games on my PS5. The current one I'm playing is Pragmata, but the problem is I don't know if it's ADHD. I tend to just give up on games pretty easily. Like good games too, right? Like Death Stranding 2, that Horizon game, or I think it was called Horizon, Final Fantasy something, I forget whichever one came out recently. It's hard for me to, like, at some point I'll be playing a video game, I enjoy it, and then I'll have this thought creep into my mind where I'm like, what's the point? Like, it literally just like, what's the point of playing? I don't get it. Like, it's so inevitable what's gonna happen, and then I just lose interest. But the last game that kept my interest all the way, start to finish, obsessively, was the Expedition 33. That game was, like, in my opinion, game of the decade, that kind of thing. Oh, look at, both my cats are here. So we got Kimbap. Good boy. What a good boy. And we got Nala. Oh shoot, I gotta fix the focus. Look at that pretty cat. We got Nala and Kimbap just hanging out with us today. Happy to see. All right. So I got my Uganda videos to continue editing, but I did promise Katzenell and Boggin that I want to test out Luminar a bit more. So let me just line this up. And let's also open up YouTube. There's a bunch of YouTube videos I have lined up to continue watching. But also, you know what? In the spirit of understanding cinema, I need to learn more about these different cinema lenses. Why choose cinema lenses over photo lenses? Let's watch that one.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the best way to create your website. There's a world of difference between the price of cinema lenses and those designed for still photography. So why is it that almost all industry film shoots for series, movies or commercials use these bank-breaking pieces of glass over more cost-effective consumer options? Let's go over the practical and aesthetic advantages and disadvantages of cinema versus photography lenses to determine which is the better choice in which situation. The biggest immediate difference between photo and cinema lenses are their construction and ergonomics. On average, cinema lenses are larger, heavier, and are designed to be compatible with professional cinema camera accessories. For example, they have a sturdy rounded front lip which clip-on matte boxes can be clamped directly onto. They also have focus, aperture and sometimes zoom.
That's one thing. I haven't used what do you call it? I've never used the matte box before, and I feel like I think that's something I need to correct. Like at some point, I was just having a chat with a friend about this, where right now, whenever I do kind of like quote unquote like freelance work, I don't know why quote unquote, when I do like freelance gigs, let's say if I'm doing a video shoot, because I did one recently, right? I don't really advertise this too much, but occasionally just from my former life, I'll end up doing a few corporate jobs, like photo shoots, video shoots, whatever. So I did one recently where they just wanted to, they had some client sit down and give a few sound bites. Jesus. Sorry guys, my cat just knocked over something. She knocked over the bed. Give me a second, I gotta make sure life is okay here. My cats are chill. You know that super relatable feeling when you're staring up at the ceiling, an IV drip strapped to your arm keeping you from dying in a remote mountain village in a country you barely knew existed, wondering whether you'll die first from your heart giving out or from the shame of taking a selfie in your final moments of life? In case you haven't, let me share my adventure in Tajikistan. A quick story about plans going spectacularly wrong, facing my... Okay, well that was interesting. I wasn't paying attention, so I don't know what Nala did, but something happened, something knocked over, she freaked out, she knocked over the bed, but she did also decapitate our little kitty cat here. Hold on. This is, I go over there to see what happened. Let me block my eyes. Ugh, I have to turn on that product mode. How do I do this? There we go. Will it focus? Come on, come on. All right. This is not gonna work, is it? Oh, whoops. Yeah, it turned up. There we go. She literally beheaded our little kitty. Well, the good news is it's easy enough to fix, and it looks like I'm not missing any pieces, hopefully. Oh wait, are we? No. There we go. Good as new. Even this cat has 9 lives. All right, let me just put it back. Okay. Life is normal again. What was I saying before? I think I was saying something. Oh yeah, I've never shot with the matte box. And then, yeah, so I just did a video shoot for like a corporate video shoot. And so I needed to record, you know, like 30 seconds, 1 minute, someone reading a script. And so it's like a pretty standard video shoot, all things considered. You know, it was just a one light setup with one camera, and then boom. It turned out very good in my opinion. But one thought I was having, and I was chatting with a friend about this, but I feel like if I want to go down that route and like advertise myself, start doing more of these like freelance work for video, like corporate events, things like that, I do think that having a crew is valuable, even if I can do it myself. Like for instance, I did everything on my own, right? So I set up the light, I set up the cameras, the microphones, the everything. So it's just a one-man show. But having an extra person on set, quote unquote, whatever, well, obviously one, you can set up everything faster, so there's the value of that. But then just from the perception, I think if a client sees a team working on something, there's something about that feels more professional and more reason to give your money, the company money, to this freelance whatever. So you know, for now it's fine. I have a good relationship with these people so they reach out to me. But if I ever do want to like start promoting that and actually, you know, treat it like a business and, you know, put advertisement and do a lot of these kind of corporate events, I do think I need to like have a team structure. So it's like, oh yeah, we're here for the event. It's like, oh, here's my, you know, it's me and like maybe one or two others, and you can see them all setting up the lights, putting on the microphones. It just feels very like, oh, okay, we're in a Hollywood set. Whereas if it's just me, just some Joe Schmo doing everything, it does feel more amateur. So anyways, I think the same thing. The reason, I forgot why was I talking about this. The reason was, I think when you see a filmmaker with that matte box on the front of the lens, that does make everything feel more like a professional setup just by adding that matte box. Like it feels like you're a much more serious filmmaker. And so even for that reason alone, I do think it's behooves me to invest in a matte box and like start shooting with that more regularly. But yeah, anyways, I'll think about that as we watch.
With geared teeth on the outside of the barrel, which can be used to manually adjust these settings. Cine lenses often come in a consistent size and length across prime lens sets, as well as with a consistent front diameter, which makes it easy to do things like balance it on a gimbal, or quickly put on a matte box with...
Yo, that's actually, that's actually a huge benefit. If, for the most part, if most of the Cine lenses are about the same size, use the same threads, okay.
The same size back when changing lenses. Modern photo lenses are often designed to change aperture electronically by flicking through a switch on the camera body, although some do come with an additional manual iris ring. They can screw circular filters onto the front thread of the lens rather than using clip-on matte boxes. Although these technical differences may seem small, the biggest practical effect they have is that photography lenses and cinema lenses are designed to be used in different ways by different sized crews. Photo lenses are more geared towards solo operators, whereas cinema lenses are manufactured for use with a full camera team, consisting of a camera operator, a first AC, and a camera assistant. This is because of the different ways that these lenses are designed to focus. Photography lenses can autofocus when used with compatible cameras, such as mirrorless bodies or certain models geared towards broadcast or entry-level cinema use, like the Sony FX series. They use internal motors to automatically move lens elements or pieces of glass until the image is sharp. Modern mirrorless cameras combine phase detection autofocus and contrast detection systems. Phase detection compares two images, one from the left side and one from the right side of the lens, to determine whether the subject is in front of or behind the focus plane. The motor will then move the elements until the two images align perfectly and the subject is in focus. While contrast detection analyzes the image from the main sensor until it finds the point where contrast or edge sharpness is highest. Finds perfect.
Okay, I wasn't fully paying attention there. Hey, look who decided to show up. All right, we got a newcomer over here. After beheading our cat, little cat there. And now, I don't know, it seems like Kimbap's found his new spot for now. And we got Nala. All right, I'm assuming she's going to make her biscuits. Let me adjust. I gotta adjust the autofocus on, or not, I gotta adjust the focus on the other one. Okay. Well, there we go. We found some balance again. It is nice. Not selfishly. It is selfish, but I do appreciate that my cats like to spend time and be near me. It's like a nice little validation. Oh, okay. I guess maybe they do love me. Or maybe they love the food that comes with me, but either way.
Models geared towards broadcast or entry-level cinema use, like the Sony FX series. They use internal motors to automatically move lens elements or pieces of glass until the image is sharp. Modern mirrorless cameras combine phase detection autofocus and contrast detection systems. Phase detection compares two images, one from the left side and one from the right side of the lens, to determine whether the subject is in front of or behind the focus plane. The motor will then move the elements until the two images align perfectly and the subject is in focus. While contrast detection analyzes the image from the main sensor until it finds the point where contrast or edge sharpness is highest, which means the subject is in focus. Practically, these systems are now very accurate, fast, and can even be used to track subjects. This makes photography lenses a great tool for gimbal shots, where the focus can automatically latch onto a subject, and where it's difficult and impractical to do manual focus pulls. A disadvantage of autofocus is that sometimes these pulls can feel too quick or too electronic and less natural or organic than manual focus pulls. They may also latch onto the wrong thing, for example pulling focus onto a person's hand when they make gestures in front of their eyes during an interview. Cinema lenses solve these issues. First, ACs will attach a wireless follow focus motor to the rods of a camera and line it up with the gear teeth on the lens. They can then use a handset with a rotatable grip to wirelessly and manually move the motor and focus gear to adjust how far or close the focus plane is. This puts control into the hands of a creative human being who can determine what is in focus, as well as the speed and timing at which the focus moves from one subject to another. For example, if you're after a dreamy in and out focus effect that portrays the discombobulated point of view of a character. Cinema lenses often have approximately a 200 to 300 degree focus rotation, compared to around the 90 degree or less of photo lenses. Being able to rotate the focus ring on cinema lenses more makes it easier to do incremental and smoother focus pulls, especially useful when throwing focus from one subject to another or gradually bringing a subject into focus. One main disadvantage to cinema lens focusing is that because it's operated by a human, even though it's a very skilled human, they are still capable of making mistakes and not hitting focus perfectly every time. If you get a focus puller, then you'll also need extra gear. a monitor for the focus puller to judge sharpness.
Okay, focus pullers. How valuable is that role going forward? Let me ask ChatGPT. Amber, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, partner. I reckon you're coming through just fine. So what's the next thing that's bothering you out on this dusty trail?
I'm learning about filmmaking and cinematography and all that. And as part of that, it sounds like one of the key things that happens in most Hollywood sets is you have the concept of a focus puller or someone who is doing that manual focus pulling. Is that a job that you foresee will remain in the world of cinematography, let's say in the next 5 to 10 years? Or is there any possibility, or how feasible is it that with better technology and autofocusing and all that kind of stuff, that the job of a focus puller, a person doing the focus pulling, will be obsolete?
Well, now, wouldn't that be a hoot? A robot stealing the focus puller's job while the actors are still figuring out where to stand. Sure, tech's getting fancy. Autofocus is smarter than a coyote on a full moon. But there's more to a focus puller than just turning a dial. They're storytellers, making sure that focus shifts with intention, emotion, and artistry, something no AI can fully match yet. I reckon in 10 years, you'll still find them. Maybe fewer, but the best stories, like the best shots, still need human eyes to guide them.
Okay, so you're saying AI, or not even, well, okay, a mixture of AI and like better tech won't get to a point where it'll replace a human doing the focus pulling?
I'm saying the odds of tech replacing every last nuance of human judgment are about as likely as a cowboy riding a robot horse into the sunset. Sure, autofocus might get fancier, but on complicated shots where emotion shifts or actors improvise, you'll want a human mind pulling that focus. Could be some sets go all tech, but the ones that care about craft will keep them folks who know how to tell a story with their hands.
If I'm trying to get into the world of cinematography, if I'm trying to get more filmmaking projects, is that usually where you start? If I have zero, let's say if I have very, very limited experience, do you normally start off as a focus puller?
Oh, sure, just show up with zero experience and expect someone to toss you the focus wheel. Ain't that a dream? Look, most folks start anywhere they can. Production assistant, camera intern, carrying gear like you're a pack mule. Focus pulling is a skilled craft. You'll work your way up once folks trust you can handle the basics without tripping over cables. So yeah, you'll start at the bottom, but that's where everyone starts, unless you're the director's nephew.
Okay, we learned some things.
A wireless transmission system to send a video feed to that monitor, a wireless follow focus system, a base support for the camera with rods to mount the focus motor, and D-tap or 2-pin ports and enough battery power to run these accessories. Not only do these accessories cost money to rent or buy, but they also make the camera build larger and potentially make it incompatible with certain solo operator rigs, such as smaller prosumer gimbals. To sum it up then, cinema lenses are better suited to an industry-style shooting workflow which has the budget for camera crew and extra cinema gear, while photography lenses are generally used more for documentary, events or other solo shooting situations. Having said all that, it is still possible to work with cinema lenses as a solo operator and manually pull focus on the barrel or with a manual follow focus. But why would you want to do that? Before we go over some of those reasons, I need to thank my regular sponsor, Squarespace. Any freelancer who wants to grow their business network or display their work online needs to have their own website. I use Squarespace to set up my site, both to advertise my work as a cinematographer, as well as for posting educational videos and articles for In-Depth Cine. Squarespace makes it easy to build your own website which engages viewers and makes you look like a pro, thanks to their visual design tools. You can customize your online aesthetic with dozens of modern options that fit every brand or industry.
Okay, quick pause. Because I'm just dabbling with the Luminar tool. So just as a quick reference, it's been a while since I've been traveling, but Luminar is one of these companies that had reached out to me and asked if I wanted to test out their product. And so, yeah, I was like, yeah, for sure. So I've been testing it out. Again, like I said, the past 2 months, especially with the current situation in Dubai, I left. So I put a lot of the streaming and this kind of stuff on pause. But now that I'm back, and thanks to Katanil Bagan for reminding me or asking about it, I figured while we're watching these videos, I'll start to test out Luminar a bit further and just kind of refresh myself. For the most part, so for me, I don't see myself using Luminar to take over my entire color grading process and like editing process for photos, you know. I enjoy Lightroom for doing that with ease. It's just the system that I'm used to. But with that said, it has been kind of fun to play around with some of the features that Luminar has, especially like their kind of like AI tools and the ability to kind of mimic sunlight coming in from different directions. It seems to do a decent job of like understanding the depth of the photo. So I was just playing, I didn't end up applying it on this image, but it seems to be able to let you change the kind of bokeh, almost like the aperture of your shot. And you can get a nice visual of how far you want to push it in terms of the focus distance. So there's a number of those features that I think are quite interesting. It's a bit more selective in terms of, it's a bit selective when and how to use it, but it is something that I've been enjoying. And so with some of these photos, I'm trying to test out, see what would end up working out best. So for example, this is kind of like a before and after. So here I was at least able to add a bit more of a sunlight effect over on the right. And even when it applies it, because like for instance, I can do the exact same effect. That's kind of what I do now within Lightroom. However, when I create like a linear gradient coming in from the top right and increasing the exposure, whatever else, it applies that effect almost evenly. It just kind of diffuses the farther away it goes from the center. Whereas with Luminar, it does seem like they're applying depth to the shot. So they are calculating, or they're what's the word? They are factoring in the depth of the shot. So if it determines correctly, like, okay, there's a subject here, and this is closer, and then this is farther away. Well, then if I put the center of the sun over here, then it should bounce light differently over here compared to over there. So it's like seems to do a bit better of like this kind of AI understanding of depth. So that's been one interesting thing that I tend to enjoy. We'll keep testing. Yeah. Anyways.
And if you're a filmmaker like me, you can use their gallery or video library to upload samples of your work that can help win you future jobs. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your site, go to squarespace.com/indepthcine to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now that we've covered focus, we can move on to aperture, the hole which can open or close to let more or less light into the camera. Most photo lenses have click stops. In other words, if you want to open the size of the aperture from f4 to f2.8, you'll have to abruptly change from one to the other. Cinema lenses, however, are declicked. This means the iris can be gradually opened or closed incrementally, allowing exposure to adjust more slowly and subtly.
Ooh, that is music to my ears. That is kind of frustrating when I have to, if I'm filming something and let's say if you're going from indoors to outdoors, and you know, so obviously it's like your settings might be different. I might be shooting at like f2 or something like that, and when I'm indoors, and the moment you step outside, you're like, you know, obviously I have my ND filter, but sometimes that's not enough. So then I have to quickly do that clicky thing, and you adjust your aperture to like whatever f9, and then eventually you see the lighting change, but it does feel abrupt and a bit like rigid. If you're telling me that these cine lenses are actually designed to do like smooth aperture changes, and I know we had watched a video from Matti Hapoya, or however you say his last name, where he was shooting with the Sony FX6, was it? Where it has like a built-in auto ND filter. I'm like, oh, I would love that feature.
To abruptly change from.
All right,
to
let me rewatch
we've
that.
covered focus, we can move on to aperture. The hole which can open or close to let more or less light into the camera. Most photo lenses have click stops. In other words, if you want to open the size of the aperture from f4 to f2.8, you'll have to abruptly change from one to the other. Cinema lenses, however, are declicked. This means the iris can be gradually opened or closed incrementally, allowing exposure to adjust more slowly and subtly. The reason this is important to some professional filmmakers is that they may want to do what is called an iris pull. This is where, just like with the wireless follow focus, a motor is attached to the iris ring, which can be manually closed or opened. This can be used to change the stop during the shot, to balance exposure without the audience being aware that this setting is being changed. For example, when going from a very bright environment like an exterior location to a very dark environment like an interior, or vice versa. Another difference between cinema and photo lenses is how aperture is measured. Photography lenses will do so in f-stops, while cinema lenses use t-stops.
In case it's of interest, and if you're hopping in here and wondering what's going on. So yeah, I'm just watching this video over on the side, usually on topics around filmmaking, cinematography, wildlife stuff, photography, things in general, whatever, things like that. But then over here, as I'm doing that, I'm catching up on over 25,000 photos that I took in the past 2 months. Not all that I took, but just 25,000 photos, because I say it's a distinction because a bunch of photos were taken by not me, but a bunch of safari guides that I was training on photography. So, but I'm reviewing their photos as well. Point is, 25,000 photos are now in my Lightroom here that I need to review. Plus, we've got 20 terabytes worth of video footage from the past 2 months of travel that I need to get through. So I'm using these streams to work on my content and, you know, color grade and review all the footage and get it all prepped to export and, you know, start to figure out how to make content out of it. And while I do that, I'm just chilling and watching this video. So hopefully it's of entertainment to some of you guys, fingers crossed. And you can see a little bit into my journey, right? So you can see this was one of the days where we did I think this was our second chimpanzee trek. So I took a few photographers with me on a 9-day organized tour across Uganda. So yeah. Anyways. And
although
I took a lot of photos of my guests when they were there, and so I want to provide it to them as soon as possible. I'm already a little bit late on that, so yeah, I'm going to edit these and then send it over to them as like a fun little, hey, thanks for joining my trip. Here's some awesome shots of you that you can use for your own purposes, whatever.
These measurements are similar, they do have a technical difference. F-stop uses a mathematical formula to calculate approximately how much light will reach the sensor. A t-stop is an actual measurement of how much light is let through, which includes the light which is lost inside the...
And I'm using my current presets. So one of the things, I started off in photography, travel photography stuff, then I went into more wildlife in the past years, or the latter half of my photography journey. And then in the past 3 years, I shifted more towards video, cinematography, those kind of things. So when it comes to photos, I've been trying as much as possible to simplify the photo editing process. Hence, I've got a number of my presets here, which are designed to speed up that process. And so I use this especially for just like creative direction. So I'll kind of hover over a bunch of my presets, and hopefully some of them look good. Hopefully some of them give me a good sense of like, okay, if I go with like a darker look, if I go with some light, creeping in from the top left or over on the right side, if I go with a cooler tone, does it look better? And then I can just hit some buttons and hopefully we move on and we're good to go. So that's what we have here. If you would like to support me, and if you're interested, I do sell my presets. So I just put in the chat So feel free to check that out. And then, yeah, anyways, there's enough plugging.
Lens through reflections and glass coatings. This just means that cinema T-stops are more accurate. Many modern cinema lens sets will also have a consistent T-stop across all primes. Being able to shoot with all the lenses at the same wide open aperture means you can change a lens during a scene without the exposure of any of the shots changing at all, and without needing to do any lighting tweaks. Therefore, cinema prime lenses with consistent stops can help you to work faster and more accurately. So far we've gone over the aperture and focus rings which all cinema prime lenses have, but cinema zooms also come with an additional ring which can be used to change the focal length of the lens.
The zoom rocker.
Photo zooms can do this by turning a section on the barrel of the lens, however they don't have geared teeth. Cinema zooms can therefore be lined up with a motor and a device that can be attached to the tripod's panhandle called a Preston Microforce.
Preston.
They can use a button to set the speed of the zoom to be consistent, which makes it great for slow zoom push-ins during a shot. Unlike photo lenses, which are almost impossible to do a consistent speed zoom with by manually turning the barrel. Cine zooms are parfocal, which means the focus distance will...
Well, one thing I like about the ZR, although I've only had one opportunity to test it with the Cine lens, but it does have that zoom rocker. And so technically, I guess that's the same technique here, where you're able to use that zoom rocker for a smooth zooming in and zooming out effect throughout the shot.
Will remain unchanged even when the lens zooms in or out. Whereas the focus on many photo lenses will shift when you zoom, which means you may start the shot in focus but end out of focus. Another separating point between cinema and photo zooms is that usually the length of still lenses will elongate as the lens zooms, and elements inside are moved further away. Whereas with cinema zooms, this movement happens completely internally, so as not to twist, turn or extend the barrel, which may collide with or rotate a matte box. An added bonus that comes with many still lenses is that they have image stabilization. This makes it possible to just pop a lens on and shoot run and gun handheld footage on longer focal lengths with a much greater degree of stability, unlike unstabilized Cine lenses which will have more of a shake. A final advantage of cinema glass is their look and color reproduction. Of course, it will depend on the lens which is chosen, but generally cinema lenses will have more consistent optical performance. Their flares will be a bit more cinematic and rounded. This is due to them usually having more iris blades, which makes the opening more circular compared to some photo lenses. Modern cinema lenses are designed so all prime focal lengths in the same set will render skin tones, contrast and color consistently. Cinema lenses also come with a range of different looks, from sharp, crisp, neutral and modern, to more painterly, warm vintage glass. This means filmmakers can choose a cinema lens with the visual characteristics which best suit their project. The same can be said for many vintage photo lenses, the only difference being that this older glass will come without autofocus, whereas vintage cinema lenses can still be controlled perfectly well by a focus puller. Modern cinema glass will create a coherent aesthetic when a movie is shot using different focal lengths. However, this is negligible when using many modern high-quality photo lenses, which should also produce pretty consistent visual performance. Ultimately, the choice between whether you shoot on cinema or photo glass comes down to budget, workflow, and control. If you need exceptional optical performance to control the speed of the focus, zoom speed, or do iris pulls during a shot, and you also have the budget, crew, and resources to support this choice, then choosing a cinema lens makes total sense. However, if you're doing a lower budget solo run and gun documentary with a prosumer gimbal, need to move incredibly fast, not be tied down by heavy glass, and want the accuracy of touchscreen autofocus, then using a photo lens would be the best choice. As ever, let your gear selection be guided by your practical environment, as well as the kind of content you want to capture. Thank you to all of you for supporting the channel.
Wow, amazing. I actually did learn a lot from this guy. So shout out to In-Depth Cine. We're now subscribed, so hopefully more of these types of videos will pop through. Okay, what were some other videos I needed to watch?
When you're building up your film...
This guy, I like this guy, Luke Forsyth. He's got a very deadpan way of speaking, which I think I appreciate. Yeah. Anyways, he seems to have a wealth of knowledge. Filmmaking gear that's actually a good investment. This is from a year ago. Let's check it out.
Making kit. It sometimes seems like the list of things to buy is endless, because it sort of is. There's always something new coming out, and because of the insane marketing budgets behind gear these days, it's easy to feel like spending cash is the best way to get ahead. But the truth is that within a few years, so many of the things you...
Okay. With that said, it's funny because I think I have the same issue with my mic, but at least on this video, for some reason, every time he says the S sound is really sharp in my ear.
Thought we're going to change the game for your filmmaking are just sitting in a drawer collecting dust. DJI Raven Eyes. Sorry, something in my throat there. But thankfully there is some gear out there that's useful for your long-term career. The things that don't go out of date or require upgrading every 18 months. And spending money on these things is actually a good long-term investment. So let's not waste any time here because there's a lot to get through, and I'm in the middle of packing for a shoot in East Africa, which should hopefully mean there's some cool BTS content coming next month. But we're here to talk about long-term investments.
Wait, he said East Africa. Could that mean he was in like Kenya or Tanzania? Let's see if he posted about it. It'd be fun. You know what? I said this and I haven't followed through on it, but I need to put a list together of filmmakers, YouTubers, like travel, creators, and just like do a cold reach out and see if any of them would be interested in working with me in some capacity. It's like, just, it doesn't hurt to reach out, I would assume. But one of those like, hey, I appreciate your content. If you're doing some film project in Africa, blah, 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 or wherever in the world. But since I'm in Dubai, it's easy to go to parts of Africa. I was like, hey, if you're heading out to these places and you need an extra hand or an extra cameraman or whatever, I'll shine your shoes, man. Hit me up. So he's one of those that I do want to reach out to. I think he even made a video about how do you get into this and here's what you would do. I think the general gist was like, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to people, but you should probably reach out with like what value you add to them. So I would want to send an email to him like, hey, I'm kind of like new-ish to filmmaking. Here's my body of work. And, I think I can help you in this capacity, blah, blah, blah. We'll figure it out. I don't see any of his recent videos that said it looks like it was in Africa. Filmmaking advice. Filmmaking advice you need to stop following in 2026. Oh, okay, we'll watch that. I guess it started already. If you want a film career in 2026, watch this. Jesus. He's definitely got a way to hook his titles. The everyday carry of a survival cameraman. That could be useful. This Hollywood writer says it's over. He's half right. How I got hired for my last 3 film jobs. What actually works? Ooh, don't mind if I do. I asked an Oscar-winning cinematographer if film is still worth it. What I'd buy with a $10,000 gear budget as a filmmaker today. Okay, I don't see anything. I'm about to do something really dumb. All right, you got me hooked. We'll see.
Ideas about what actually matters.
Okay, well, we'll just keep watching this one though.
And if you watch this channel regularly, you'll already know that I hate disposable tech culture, and nothing makes me angrier than spending money on something that breaks after a year or two. I also won't be talking about any cameras here because, let's be honest, none of them are great long-term investments. Necessary and useful, yes, but long-lasting, not really. I don't think any one brand is much better than the others when it comes to durability or long lifespan either, so there's no point in singling anything out. I guess Ari might be a bit of an exception there, but since I know most people watching are more likely to be looking at an FX3 instead of an Alexa, we're not going to spend much time there. I'll just assume you already have a camera and a lens or two and are at the point where you're wondering, what's next? Well, these days we're super lucky that cameras seem to be getting smaller and smaller while the image quality just keeps going up. Suddenly we're seeing 4K, 6K, 8K sensors in tiny little bodies, and that's only going to keep going. But with all this resolution comes a new problem: focusing and actually seeing what's in that crazy high-res frame. In the days of 1080 shooting, there used to be a ton of wiggle room when it came to focus, and if you were off by a little bit, it wasn't really that noticeable. But now, even in 4K, if you don't nail it in camera, it's super noticeable when you get it onto a bigger screen, and it kind of ruins the shot. Autofocus is getting crazy good at the same time, but in my opinion, it's only useful in specific situations, and it's not good at all for verite scene coverage. And if you are using manual focus like I do, since all these cameras have...
Is he the... I've heard some other people say that word before. What did you say? Verite? Verite something.
Crazy good at the same time, but in my opinion, it's only useful in specific situations, and it's not good at all for verite scene coverage.
What the heck does that mean? We're gonna add a word into our... Oh, you know what? Let's ask ChatGPT. What does the word verite mean?
Well, verite is just a fancy way of saying truth, but you know, with a French twist. In filmmaking, when they say cinema verite, it's all about that raw, real life feel. No stage nonsense, just capturing things as they are. Basically, it's the kind of truth Hollywood usually avoids like a rattlesnake, but some folks love it.
So practically speaking, if someone's talking about shooting like verite, is that like a style, is that like mimicking handheld camera shooting, like shaky footage?
Oh, you got it. Yeah, when folks throw around verite, they're usually getting all excited about that handheld close by, like you're right there in the mess. It's not just about shaky footage, though. It's about making it feel real. Even if everyone knows someone's still yelling action off to the side. It's like life, but, you know, with a director sneaking around, pretending they ain't in control.
Okay. Let me hear him say that word again then.
And it's only useful in specific situations, and it's not good at all for verite scene coverage. And if you are using manual focus like I do, since all these cameras have tiny little monitors and usually no EVF, it's getting harder and harder to pull focus accurately just when it's starting to matter the most. And that's why I'm going to say that a solid monitor is probably one of the best long-term investments you can make, because once you're able to actually see what you're shooting, you'll be able to take advantage of all that extra resolution rather than kicking yourself in post when you realize the autofocus point was actually locked onto the background instead of your main subject. Now this is sort of a tricky one because while a decent monitor like this one from Small HD or maybe that one from TV Logic can last through multiple camera bodies, the cheap ones might actually make your life harder, not easier. Andy Cine. Sorry, this cough is getting crazy. I'm not saying you need to spend thousands, but if you're buying with a long-term mindset, not all brands are created equally. I've heard good things about budget brands like OC, but I haven't used one myself because I've had the same Small HDs for many years now, and I haven't really needed anything else. But whatever you go with, adding a good quality, reliable monitor like a Small HD or like a TV Logic or an Atomos or whatever, it's gonna have a big trickle-down effect on the overall quality of your footage because you'll actually be able to see. The only challenge of adding monitors to your rig, and really with growing your kit in general, is that the more accessories you end up running, the more things you're gonna have to power. Like if you're shooting with a mirrorless camera, it's almost guaranteed that your monitor is gonna need different batteries than you use to power the camera, and that means more weight, more chargers, and just more stuff in general to lug around. So the next long-term investment I'd recommend is buying into a system that will power everything, not just one accessory at a time, and that means V-mounts. or gold mounts, which some people prefer because they have like a stronger connection. But honestly, I've never had a problem with V-mounts popping off or anything like that. And I do think it's kind of more common to find accessories built for V-mount than gold mount these days. Either way, they all serve the same function, and that's to be a one-stop power shop for everything in your kit. The point is, with a single V-mount battery, you can power your camera and a monitor and a wireless transmitter like a Hollyland or a Teradek, and that means carrying around one charger for everything. If you travel like I do, that kind of simplicity is a massive help, and as your kit grows, you're going to find more and more uses for V-mounts. My lights will run from V-mounts, so will my director's monitor, and I can even use the USB ports to charge a phone in a pinch. For mirrorless shooters, switching to bigger batteries usually means adding some sort of base plate system, but the extra weight actually ends up being mostly a good thing as it makes your rig a bit heavier, which gets rid of some of those micro jitters. I've heard Condor Blue makes good solutions for these sort of mirrorless rigging options, and I reached out to them already, so I'm going to be trying that out for myself on that shoot in Africa, so I'll let you guys know how that goes. But if you're looking for a long-term investment that will power all your gear for years to come, V-mounts or gold mounts are well worth looking at. Now, if you watched my video from last month, you might not be surprised by the next long-term investment that I'm going to recommend, so I'll just get right to the point. Audio. And I'm not talking about Audio, the royalty-free music service and the sponsor of this video, though I will get to them in a second. I'm talking about sound gear, because in all filmmaking, but especially in documentaries, the sound is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the storytelling. And since for the last 6+ years, I've been using the same setup on every single shoot, it definitely qualifies as a long-term investment that's paid off. In my opinion, you need 2 different audio tools in your kit to really cover a documentary story well. You need a shotgun-style top mic and then some sort of body pack lavalier recorder that you attach to your main character. The shotgun gets all the ambient sound and the lav gets all the dialogue from your subject. And that's really all you need to start shooting verite scenes. It is possible to do this with only one of these audio tools, but it does make things quite a bit harder. And if you miss an important soundbite in the field, it's going to be really hard to edit around in post. I personally use a Sennheiser 416 as my main shotgun, not this one. I'm recording on it right now.
And then this. Okay. Because I've been curious about YouTubers who are able to have clean audio without having the freaking mic in your face, as I have it here, right? So for me, it's like I think I prefer the look where you don't have this ugly mic that just cuts into your frame. I think we just all subtly, or I guess we've all kind of given into it, or just like, what else can you do? But I prefer his style where the mic is completely off camera. But I've been a little too lazy anyways, but I was always curious what microphones would people use for that. So he's using a Sine, because the sound quality is pretty good, except for the S sound, which I don't like. But what did he say he's using?
Sennheiser 416 is my main shotgun, not this one. I'm recording on it right now. And then this 10-year-old set of Sennheiser G3Y. This one, I'm really hard to edit around in post. I personally use a Sennheiser 416 as my main shotgun.
Sennheiser 416. Shotgun mic. Sennheiser 416. Holy crap. Okay, maybe this is why I didn't look into this further. I gotta pay $1,000 for this? Get your shit out of here. What? Okay, so if I invest in $1,000 shotgun microphone, then I could technically have it off camera and then speak knowing it's gonna pick me up pretty nicely. It's just $1,000, I just need a few of you guys to donate to me, and we can purchase this. The 416 shotgun microphone. Okay, listen, aspirations. It's always good to have them.
Not this one. I'm recording on it right now. And then this 10-year-old set of Sennheiser G3 wireless packs, and I highly recommend both of those if you're looking to build up a professional kit. If I need more than one subject mic at a time, then I'll use something like a Tentacle Track E recorder with a timecode box. But with just the shotgun and one lav set, you're going to be set for years of basic coverage. What you go with really depends on your budget, and I'm not going to tell you anything isn't good enough. But a shotgun and a lav are staples of any run-and-gun doc kit, and so it's worth investing more here and less on other stuff, because if you go with quality, you can keep it for ages. 10 years and still going strong. And speaking of audio, now it really is time to talk about the music service, because when it comes to long-term investments, audio...
You know what? That's the other goal. Listen, we're slowly building up our channel, okay? Now that I'm finished traveling for a little bit, I'm taking that time to make sure I catch up on all my content. I'm working with my editor now, and like I said, we're in a good groove here. If I can get to a point where I'm posting twice a week, and yeah, I think right now we're creeping up on 10,000 subs on YouTube. I think where am I at? I think I'm at like 97 something, right? 9,700 and change. So we're almost there. We just need one of our videos to pop. And each time I make a video, I have noticed there's always a few subscribers each time, which is always nice to know. At least it's not going down, is what I'm saying. So if we are consistently publishing videos and consistently being on these live streams while I'm at home, I think we're going to hit 10,000. The goal, man, if I can hit 10,000 by 1 month from now, that would be chef's kiss. And once we hit 10K, I have no idea, right? It's just a number. But I do hope that at some point we're going to be able to land our first like proper sponsor, like, because I've never had that before. At this point we've had a number of free products, right? Or we've had companies give me different products to review or use. I have like the sound platform it's not a sponsor, but I'm partnered with MusicBed for my music. We're using Dehancer and all that kind of stuff, right? Pidgey Tech for the backpacks. However, I haven't like gotten to a point where you have a discussion with some brand about like, hey, yeah, we'll sponsor this video. You just throw in 30-second, I don't know. I don't know any of the details behind like how do you get one of those. So that'll be definitely one of my big step ups, a milestone, if we can achieve that with our channel. So wish me luck on that. But man, I would love to do that. Make a video and just like, by the way, I got a shout out to our sponsor, blah, 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 blah.
Is one of the only companies out there these days offering the ultimate long-term investment, lifetime membership. It seems like everything I use these days is switching to a subscription model, so the fact that audio even has a lifetime option is pretty cool. There's a link in the description, and if you use the code Luke199, you can get like more than 50% off on lifetime access. And considering how much audio has expanded in the last year and a half I've been working with them, it really is a long-term investment that's going to just keep getting better. Like recently they just added a new feature called Elements that opens up all the stem tracks of their entire catalog, meaning that you have a lot more flexibility in how you use their music. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that basically means you can isolate all the different parts of a song and then tweak them individually, like remove the vocal track or the drums or something. So for all those times when a song is almost perfect but not quite, this is going to be a huge help. Audio is a great service and it just keeps getting better, unlike most camera bodies out there. So if your long-term plans involve music or sound effects, this is a great investment. Okay, back to the video. Next up is the most budget-friendly piece of kit I'd recommend investing in for the long term, and there's actually a good chance you already have a bunch of things that go into this already. Because the one thing that's not likely to change anytime soon is the need to build up your rig and keep it clean. And that's an AC pouch. AC just means camera assistant, and they're called that because on big sets all the assistants wear.
I mean, right now, what do I obviously have my big backpack. I now have the cotton carrier vest, but that's mainly just for my camera. And yeah, for my cameras. And then I've got my sling bag, the Peak Design sling bag. But this looks a bit more
just functional. A tool bag. Inside here, I keep all the things I need to work with camera hardware, basic camera system. And that's where one of these things comes in, an AC pouch. AC just means camera assistant, and they're called that because on big sets all the assistants wear these on their belts, but it's basically just a tool bag. Inside here I keep all the things I need to work with camera hardware, like Allen keys and a multi-tool, and since dock cameras get super dirty, I have a lot of cleaning stuff in here, like an air blower and some lens tissues. There's also some Sharpies in here and bongos and little screwdrivers, just basically everything you might need. Now the bag itself doesn't really matter, though this one from Cinebags is pretty nice and it's not too expensive either.
Cinebags, okay.
is like 40 bucks. Building out a decent AC pouch isn't as fun as buying a new drone or something, but if there's one thing I can guarantee you'll need in this career, it's tools and cleaning supplies. I use my gear hard and I'm constantly tightening bolts and cleaning off mud or attaching tripod plates, all issues that I deal with using the things in this bag. I've already made a full video somewhere on the channel about what's inside this kit, but when it comes to long-term investments, this is one thing that will literally never go out of date. Build it once and chuck it in your bag for every single shoot for the rest of your life. Okay, moving on, the next long-term investment is something that pretty much every doc filmmaker who shoots interviews will need, and that probably comes on around 90% of the jobs with me, and here I'm talking about lighting. Now luckily we're in a golden age of lighting tech, because even 10 years ago, getting your hands on one that was both powerful enough to light professional interviews in a variety of conditions and still portable enough to carry around by yourself without needing a generator would have been a lot tougher than it is now. These days it kind of seems like every gear company out there is making LED lights, and that means the prices have dropped so much because of the competition, which is amazing for us, the consumers. There's all kinds of different lights, from panels to tubes to LED mats, but the most useful long-term investment for run and gun filmmakers, in my opinion, is a single large chip-on-board style light that you can attach a big softbox to. I'm saying that because as fun as it is to rig up big 2x2 panels and hide 4-foot tubes in your shooting location, those aren't situations you run into on every doc shoot. What pretty much every documentary has in common though are interviews. Whether or not you use them in the edit is up to you, but being able to nicely light a person sitting in a chair is one of those bread and butter skills that doc filmmakers should try and master as quickly as possible. If you want to go deep into different lighting setups and techniques, there's a link in the description. You can jump on the waitlist for my documentary cinematography course and get a discount for when it opens up again next. Now, I'm not going to tell you what light to buy because there are so many options and so many of them are great, but my advice is to buy the most powerful one you can afford, I mean, up to a point. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to grab like a 20K monster for an interview frame, but if you're buying a light as a long-term investment, you do want to make sure that it's strong enough to at least put up a fight against the sun. My personal favorite lighting manufacturers at the moment are Aperture and Nanlite, both of which make great lights, and if I were building up my kit again today, I'd invest in something like a 300D or maybe a 600D if you have a bit of extra wiggle room in the budget. I've been using 300D as my main key light for about 4 years now, and it handles pretty much every situation I throw at it while still being easy enough to transport. Occasionally I need something a little brighter, like when I'm trying to overpower the sun in a backlit frame, and in those cases I'll rent a 600, but generally speaking the 300 has been an incredible all-rounder that I'm glad I bought. There's also nothing wrong with something smaller like a 200D, but that does mean you're a little more limited and you'll need to really control the light in bright spaces if you want it to work. Whatever you decide to go with though, just make sure you also get a large softbox or diffusion frame to go with it, because hard light just doesn't look great on faces. And lastly, just get a good tripod. I'm sure some longtime viewers here are just waiting for me to talk about my Sackler Flowtech. I feel like I'm constantly bringing it up on this channel, so I'm going to resist the urge to hold it up again. But it's pretty incredible what a difference a good tripod can make. Whatever one you go with, from sit-down interviews to locked-off B-roll shots, the day you finally get a reliable and easy-to-use tripod in your kit is the day you can stop thinking about it. If you've ever used a really bad tripod, like one of those flimsy photo ones where you have to adjust 10 different twist lock stages while trying to balance your camera, you'll know how insanely frustrating and tough on your back it can be. I'm not going to tell you need to get a Flowtech, because even though I think the Flowtech is the greatest stock tripod ever invented, it is probably overkill for people just starting out. As long as the build quality's there though, tripods never go out of date, and once you have one you like, you can just stop thinking about it and get back to shooting. Just make sure you get one that has a leveling bowl mount, because there's nothing worse than having to tinker with fiddly locking mechanisms just to get your frame level. The best tripod is the one that gets out of your way though at the end of the day, not necessarily the most expensive one. But investing in a good one, whatever that means to you, as early as possible in your career is going to pay off way more than any gimbal in the long run. So there we go, 7 long-term investments that should make up the backbone of your documentary kit and that'll last you longer than any camera body out there. Sure, there are more fun and flashy things to spend money on, but if you're looking for gear that lasts and makes your life easier, you can't go wrong with the stuff we talked about today. And as always, remember that a professional kit takes years to build up, and so there's no rush. Buying gear on credit is almost always a bad idea, so if you have to wait, it'll be worth it in the long run. See ya.
Thank you so much. I like this guy. He's very to the point, which is always good, and he speaks with a lot of experience, which is also good. That's the right combo. All right, what else did he have? He had filmmaking advice you need to stop following in 2026. All right, tell me more.
From obsessing I don't know when it happened exactly, but somewhere along the line, a lot of new filmmakers are getting the exact wrong ideas about what actually matters in this career. From obsessing over technical specs that don't really matter to...
Okay, before we do that, because I'm running into a creative wall here. Not a major one, but there's a path I can take, and either one I think could be interesting. And the path is, do I stay using color for this type of shot of the chimp, or do we shift over into, where was it? No, wrong way. Yeah, do we go into black and white, play around with black and white for this, or do we go stay in color? Both has its, both can work, right? So when I took this shot, I didn't expect much. This actually looks decent, but like, or it looks okay, but it's not like a award-winning shot or anything like that. We've got these obstructions here, and I was pointing straight at the sky. So my assumption was like, okay, it's gonna be overblown highlights. It's gonna just look nasty. And it's kind of true, right? We do have a little bit here under his armpit, which looks like it's probably overexposed. But I am actually a little bit pleasantly surprised that the colors look clean. Majority of the background here, and like the blue and green combo looks nice in my opinion, to have these blues up in the sky. So I'm kind of thinking like, okay, a shot like this is not half bad. But then the other answer was like, okay, or I could technically go black and white, which would render any issue with like the overexposure a little bit obsolete, or it hides it much better. And because technically there's a lot of noisiness, or there's a lot of distractions, we got all these tree branches and all that bokeh lights and whatever else, it does technically take your eye away from the chimp. So it's a little bit harder to stay focused on the subject, I guess. And that's one of the values of doing black and white, is it could help to smooth out or flatten a lot of the unnecessary things, or the things you find distracting. So then here, someone looking at this photo just pops, their eyes go right to the subject. Okay, you can see what you need. So I'm thinking like, okay, black and white serves a purpose, or do I maintain the color? And the colors actually look kind of half decent. I'm just voicing my thoughts. I don't expect any answers, but yeah. So I think what I'll have to do is I'll probably have to go both. Probably end up creating one version for both. I get so indecisive when it comes to these photo editing stuff.
Jumping on whatever trending accessory will make your footage cinematic. I think a lot of what people think matters these days is actually just noise. And after almost 2 decades of doing this professionally, I've learned that most of the advice floating around online is either outdated, misunderstood, or flat out wrong. And some of the things filmmakers stress about the most, like the things that people spend thousands of dollars on and years of their lives trying to master, some of those things barely matter at all. So in this video, I want to cover some of the worst filmmaking advice you need to stop following in 2026 if you don't want to hold yourself back. Letting go of this stuff will free up your time, your money, and most importantly, your creative energy, so you can focus on the things that do move your career forward. Okay, so these days there's more advice bouncing around the internet than anyone could get through in 100 lifetimes, so for the sake of this video, let's just talk about what actually matters right now. Because the biggest shifts happening in filmmaking aren't just that gear is getting cheaper or that the internet is leveling the playing field, because that's all old news. It's that the old professional markers of professionalism don't mean what they used to. The stuff we used to obsess over, like full frame versus crop sensor, resolution, or spec charts, that stuff matters way less than it used to. Which brings me to the first thing I wish more filmmakers understood in 2026, you don't need a perfect gear setup. In fact, I'll take it one step further and say the perfect kit doesn't exist. The perfect camera rig or ultimate lighting kit is a myth, because as much fun as it is to make those videos, it's totally subjective and 100% dependent on the project. We see so many videos breaking down the ultimate mirrorless rig or whatever, and if you're just starting out, it can make you feel like anything less than that makes you somehow unprofessional. But no one hires you for the accessories bolted to your cage, and if they do, they don't really know what they're talking about. Yeah, that matte box might look a bit more impressive on the day, but for the most part, gear won't get you work. No, people hire you because you're someone who can understand.
Thank you for the sub, Yoad Shejtman. I apologize, I butchered your name. For a second, I thought it said my name. I thought Yobel just subbed to YobelPrize. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't know what led you to this video or this live stream or however you found me, but I'm glad you did find me. I hope you enjoy all the content that I'm posting. Like I said, I'm trying to push more videos every week. So hopefully there should be 2 more videos this week coming out on my YouTube channel. Or you can follow me on Instagram. I do post there as well. But yeah. I'm just doing a bit of photo editing from I've been traveling for the past 2 months. So, and it was pretty intense the past 2 months, like 3 different countries. And now that I'm back, I've got like 25,000 photos and 20 terabytes of videos. So these streams will mostly be dedicated to just kind of sludging my way through, right? Just grinding and grinding. We're going to get through all these photos and videos because I need to get through them for my own content, to publish, for my own social media stuff, for my website, for blah, 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 everything. So yeah, that's kind of the point of these streams. And then just chatting with you guys whenever you decide to hop in and say anything to me. I'm all ears.
Or your project, make smart decisions, and execute a vision. Now, I do a lot of consulting calls with early career filmmakers, and people tell me all the time, I can't start because I'm missing blank. A cine lens, or a follow focus, or a 7-inch monitor, whatever the trending accessory of the month is. But the truth is, early on, you have no way of knowing what you really need, and the far better approach is to build your kit slowly based on what real-world experience proves you need. The amount of filmmakers I talk to who build massive shopping lists before they've even shot anything is wild. Like, someone wants to build an FX6 or something, but they're convinced they need every accessory under the sun before it's ready to go. But that's usually the easiest way to misspend on things you don't end up using all that much. You learn way more by using what you have and then noticing what slows you down or maybe didn't work, and then upgrading one piece at a time instead of trying to buy your way into feeling ready from day one. My general rule is that if you have to rent the same thing more than once, it's usually a sign that it's worth buying, but not before. And once you stop worrying about having the perfect kit, no matter what the internet tells you, the next trap is listening to people who tell you the secret to success lives inside the settings. Or to put it another way, you can't accessorize your way into getting good. This is where a lot of new filmmakers get hung up. They save up and they buy the camera, but instead of putting in the hours to learn how light works or studying how the best photographers compose their frames, they fall straight into the world of technical crutches. Things like minimum f-stops, heavy pro mist filters, or aggressive color grades. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of those things on their own, and there's a lot of ways they can be used to enhance your work. But when the default for every short film is to shoot everything at 1.4 with a quarter pro mist slapped on the lens to make everything cinematic, it just isn't. It's just an effect. And effects without intention don't help anything. No amount of shallow depth of field or cool glowing light halos can replace having the camera in the right place for the right reasons. If your footage doesn't look the way you want right now, the answer isn't a new LUT pack. It's studying the fundamentals of photography and lighting, composition, blocking, and camera movement. Those are the things that make images feel cinematic, not the accessories you bolt on or the settings you copy from a random Reddit thread. Now, if you do those things for the right reasons, sure, I'm here for it, but those things shouldn't be confused with where great filmmaking actually comes from. And here's the funny bit. Once filmmakers realize that settings and accessories won't automatically turn them into Terrence Malick, a lot of them swing to another extreme. They decide that the solution is to master everything. Like, they go deep into cameras and lighting and editing and producing and color and sound design, motion graphics, directing, grip rigging, every possible skill all at once. And yeah, in the beginning, that's fine, maybe.
Okay, for this photo, I actually think it's better to go color. Because there's an interesting kind of split in the background where we got almost, like, roughly speaking, we got like 50-50 breakdown. We got 50-50 light and dark, right? So I think with color, it could actually look more interesting to have this split. Yeah, I think we're gonna try color on this one, and then for this one, I don't know. Yeah, we'll just go with this. Why not? I think I'm getting too hung up on
even necessary when you're studying at 20 different things. No, that vision to other people. But there's a point where trying to do it all.
I accidentally sped up.
And And once you stop worrying about having the perfect kit, no matter what the internet tells you, the next trap is listening to people who tell you the secret to success lives inside the settings. Or to put it another way, you can't accessorize your way into getting good. This is where a lot of new filmmakers get hung up. They save up and they buy the camera, but instead of putting in the hours to learn how light works or studying how the best photographers compose their frames, they fall straight into the world of technical crutches. Things like minimum f-stops, heavy pro mist filters, or aggressive color grades. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of those things on their own, and there's a lot of ways they can be used to enhance your work. But when the default for every short film is to shoot everything at 1.4 with a quarter pro mist slapped on the lens to make everything cinematic, it just isn't. It's just an effect. And effects without intention don't help anything. No amount of shallow depth of field or cool glowing light halos can replace having the camera in the right place for the right reasons. If your footage doesn't look the way you want right now, the answer isn't a new LUT pack. It's studying the fundamentals of photography and lighting, composition, blocking, and camera movement. Those are the things that make images feel cinematic, not the accessories you bolt on or the settings you copy from a random Reddit thread. Now, if you do those things for the right reasons, sure, I'm here for it, but those things shouldn't be confused with where great filmmaking actually comes from. And here's the funny bit. Once filmmakers realize that settings and accessories won't automatically turn them into Terrence Malick, a lot of them swing to another extreme. They decide that the solution is to master every...
Who is Terrence Malick? I don't know anybody. Amber, who is Terrence Malick?
Well, Terrence Malick is that fella who makes movies like he's painting a sunset, all poetic and dreamy. He's known for films that wander around like a lost cowboy, contemplating life, nature, and humanity. He's the guy behind The Tree of Life, Badlands, and other films where half the time folks are whispering about existence, while the camera drifts like a tumbleweed. In short, he's a legend in contemplative cinema, whether you've got the patience for it or not.
Okay, Terrence Malick. Terrence Malick, American filmmaker. The Tree of Life. I mixed it up with The Fountain. Yeah, I don't think I've seen that movie. Do I know any of his work? He did. I don't recognize any of this. But what do I know? The Way of the Wind, Voyage of Time, Everybody's Everything. Damn, you know, I think it would have been so cool. I kind of wish I went to film school. Or I mean, I guess it's not too late. It would be fun. I have no idea what film school is like. But I imagine as part of it, you're watching a bunch of these things and like, you know, dissecting it all. That could be fun. I don't know any of these movies. Oh, Amazing Grace. Have I seen that? I think I've seen this one. I think that was a good movie. But I think this guy is before my time. I'm sure he's like an epic filmmaker, though.
Everything. Like they go deep into cameras and lighting and editing and producing and color and sound design, motion graphics, directing, grip rigging, every possible skill all at once. And yeah, in the beginning, that's fine, maybe even necessary. When you're starting out, doing everything yourself is how you learn how the pieces fit together. It's how you build your taste and confidence so you can communicate your vision to other people. But there's a point where trying to do it all stops helping and actually starts holding you back. Because long term, you don't become valuable by being okay at 20 different things. No, you become valuable by figuring out which part of the process you're really drawn to, the part that excites you and that you're genuinely suited to, and then you build your skills and reputation around that. That's what keeps you from burning out, and that's what makes you marketable in a real professional way. I learned this the hard way when I first switched from photography into video about 10 years ago. I built up a new website, and in these big bold letters I called myself a director, cinematographer, editor, and stills photographer. I thought it made me look versatile, but in reality it just made people confused. It wasn't clear what I was actually great at or why they should hire me over someone else. When you say you do everything, the message to most people is that you do nothing exceptionally well. As soon as I narrowed it down and got honest about the lane I wanted to be in, so for me that's cinematography and occasionally directing, everything got easier.
Okay, what is my lane? What would I advertise myself as? Because I do need to refresh my website. Yeah, I think I need to refresh it with a bunch of other things now at this point, which is not a bad thing, but it is something I should probably prioritize. So right now, I advertise myself for travel and wildlife photography, tours, presets, and films. So I'm doing the thing that he says I shouldn't do, because now it's like a smorgasbord of words. And I think I did this because I thought it was good for SEO. I thought like just having all these keywords in there on the front page would help for that. But maybe it could be working against me. And so I guess what do I promote right now? I promote my tours, my YouTube channel, and then right now I just sell like my presets. So there's a link to those things. Obviously, I need to sell more things here. And I need to market myself differently. So, because I don't do photography as much anyways, right? So people aren't hiring me for photo shoots. I guess they do for like the corporate stuff, but I haven't really advertised that. So if I were to put my brand out there, I need to call myself a travel and wildlife filmmaker. I think that's probably, at the very least, I should probably update that to put travel and wildlife filmmaker. What did he say? Director and cinematographer. Filmmaker, cinematographer, director. I don't know. Because I've never directed any. Oh, no, I did. Oh, yeah, you know what? I need a page with my body of work. Like my film. So I can put my my Island of Second Chances video there. Okay, I have so much stuff I need to get done. Jesus. I wish I was more productive.
Lane I wanted to be in, so for me that's cinematography and occasionally directing. Everything got easier. I'm not saying you can refuse to edit from day one, but long term you should be trying to figure out how many things you don't want to do rather than adding more and more things to your bio that you're really only okay at. Because eventually every filmmaker hits a point where the only way to move forward is to start collaborating with people who complement your strengths and take on the parts you suck at. For me, that was editing. I know how to edit, but I'm not meticulous or patient enough to do it at an elite level, and when I try and force myself, I tend to get frustrated. Once I accept that and start collaborating, everything got more enjoyable and the results improved. And funny enough, the more of my time I get back, the clearer it becomes what actually matters in this career, which is a perfect segue into another topic people get really confused about, film school. It's become almost trendy on YouTube to bash film school, and I'm not interested in piling onto that anymore. Because if you look into it, a ton—
Man, this guy's like reading my thoughts. I was just talking about film school. Was I bashing it? No, I wasn't actually. I was actually wishing I went. Let's see.
One of amazing filmmakers did go to film school, and honestly, if I could go back in time knowing what I know now, I might have gone too. In the right circumstances, i.e. without taking on any debt.
So you're telling me I'm broke?
Spending a few years surrounded by people who care about the same things you do can be an incredible way to sharpen your taste and build a network. But you have to understand what film school can and can't do for you. Because finishing a program doesn't guarantee anything. It won't land you a job, it won't get you on set, and in the real world, no one will ever ask to see your film degree, which is great because I don't have one. What actually matters is the work you make and whether you can solve real problems on real productions. True, the people you meet in film school might become your lifelong collaborators, but when you graduate, you're all starting at square one. It's going to be years before anyone in that group has enough influence to seriously help you professionally, so don't think that you'll come out of the gate with a bulletproof professional network. No, what film school is great at giving you is a safe environment to experiment, collaborate, and push yourself. But considering that only about 15% of film grads actually end up working in the industry, the truth is the people who make it probably percent of to experiment, collaborate, and push yourself. But considering that only about 15% of film grads actually end up working in the industry, the truth is the people who make it probably would have found their way into film anyways.
That's depressing. 15%? That's a terrible rate. What the heck? So, okay, saying it the other way, you're telling me 85% of people who decide to go into film school don't actually end up in that line of work? Or I guess I don't know what he meant by like they don't make it maybe into like Hollywood. Maybe is that the standard? But well,
The program just helped them develop before they hit the market. So if you go for the right reasons. Go because you want the structure, the community, and the space to create. Just don't expect it to make life easier for you in the professional world. And that brings me to one of the worst pieces of advice I see, whether it's coming from YouTube or film school or anywhere else. It's the idea that there's a right way to do anything. Whether it's a camera setting or a grade or an editing workflow, everyone's searching for a formula or a hack or a 5-step plan to achieve perfection. This is kind of true across the industry, but let's just look at lighting as an obvious example. Because lately I've been thinking a lot about reference culture and how so many films and commercials feel like they're lit from the same playbook. Like super soft and really dark and extremely moody. That's basically become the premium look for a few years now. And yeah, it can look great, but it wasn't until I watched One Battle After Another recently that I realized how refreshing it feels when someone steps outside the trends. If you haven't seen the movie, it's not necessarily better or fancier, it's just different. And
you know what? And I hope some of my, proper like professional and like filmmaking people in the community hop into the chat at some point. I'm of two minds of this movie, One Battle After Another. I thought, and like I couldn't, because again, I have zero experience in this. It's just like more of I'm trying to grasp at this intuition that I felt when I watched this, and I have nothing to back it up. But when I watched this film, there was a lot of like really nice cinematic shots. Like there was a really cool compositions. There were a bunch of different techniques that I seemed to like recognize as like some unique, cool little creative thing. But what I got out of it, I felt like there is nothing cohesive in the shooting style and the composition style. It almost felt like they had a shot list of like, we need to have this kind of epic shot. We definitely need one of these kind of, transition moments. We need to have this kind of panning shot. It was almost like they had this big laundry list of the coolest creative shots that you need. And it was almost like they were just picking and choosing random moments to make sure they checklisted or, checked off all of those shots. But it didn't feel like those creative decisions were made structurally or like for an intentional reason as part of the storyline. Like it felt, what would be the word? It felt separate from the actual feeling and story of the movie. Man, how could I? Anyways, that was the sense I got. It was disconnected. I felt like there was really cool, like the cinematography in this movie was amazing. I thought like technically speaking, everything looked super sharp as far as I could tell to my like plebeian eyes. But it didn't. It felt robotic because it didn't feel like each of those techniques were being applied as a dance. It just felt like someone showing off all their dance moves, but not in a string of like a. Jesus, I'm almost there with the analogy and I lost it. Yeah, but it's not like a routine or it's not like a fluid song. It just felt like all the best ingredients slapped at you one at a time. One ingredient after another. Oh my God. You know what? If I was like a proper YouTuber and I made like a film review, I would name it something like that. Like my review of One Battle After Another was like one technique after another or something. Anyways, that was my thought. I can't really justify it. I don't think I could back it up. It was just like this sense that I felt. And like in the back of my mind, as I'm watching the movie, seeing like these really epic, technically shot scenes, but feeling like, why did they throw that in there? And then the next one, oh, okay. I mean, that's cool technique. But what was the purpose of that? Like, did it add to the story in any way? Or like, was it just a cool technique? I don't know. That was my thoughts. Anyways, good movie though.
It's not necessarily better or fancier. It's just different, and it works because it serves the story rather than following a memorized technical process. Look, I'm not saying everyone needs to be able to shoot like Michael Bauman because that takes decades of practice. It also helps to be working with a filmmaker like Paul Thomas Anderson, who's, in my opinion, a creative genius. But when you spend all your time watching YouTube tutorials, mine included, you start absorbing formulas without noticing. And formulas can be helpful right up until the moment they stop serving the story and start dictating it. Now, I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I was hired to shoot part of an Emmy Award-winning award-winning miniseries about drug violence in Mexico. There were 2 parts to the shoot. There was a verite scene and then later a sit-down interview. I was pretty inexperienced then, so I did what everyone does before a job they're nervous about. I binged watched lighting tutorials. That led me to think that all interviews needed this 3-point lighting setup that I kept seeing, and so that's exactly what I did. The internet told me it was right, but when I sent the footage in, the feedback was brutal. Now, luckily they
Wait, did he show the B-roll? I saw a little bit there.
And start dictating it. Now, I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I was hired to shoot part of an Emmy Award-winning miniseries about drug violence in Mexico. There were 2 parts to the shoot. There was a verite scene and then later a sit-down interview.
Okay, so to my untrained eyes, I mean, I look at this, I'm like, oh, this looks great. But maybe this is like the after the review or the critique or whatever feedback.
I was pretty inexperienced then, so I did what everyone does before a job they're nervous about. I binged watched lighting tutorials. That led me to think that all interviews needed this 3-point lighting setup that I kept seeing, and so that's exactly what I did. The internet told me it was right, but when I sent the footage in, the feedback was brutal. Now, luckily they loved the verite and they ended up building a great scene out of it, but the interview was unusable. The 3-point lighting style was just so wrong for the tone of the project that they had to throw it out completely. Now, looking back now, it seems really crazy that I would have done that, but I was so focused on following the correct formula that I couldn't see that all the fill light and hair lights I was adding didn't belong in a dark story like we were telling. And that's the bigger truth I wish more new filmmakers understood. There is no right way to light or do anything for that matter. What matters is creating an emotional idea with light. And in the modern world, hopefully being able to do it fast too. And once you start letting go of formulas, there's one more piece of advice you have to stop listening to if you want to grow, and that's that your work needs to be perfect before you share it. Now, perfection paralysis kills more filmmaking careers than failure ever has, and it's wild how often new filmmakers get pushed in this direction. You'll hear people say things like, you only get one chance to make a first impression, or don't show anything that isn't your best work. Like, you can go online and see all these creators shooting with $10,000 rigs in these beautiful studios and preaching about production values, and it kind of feels like you need to match that like you've earned the right to upload anything. But especially in the beginning, that's going to hold you back because there's no way you can meet those standards. The truth is, most early work from respected directors is rough compared to their latest stuff, sometimes even borderline amateur. Like Christopher Nolan's first short, Doodlebug, looks nothing like the slick filmmaker he's become today. Or go search for Greta Gerwig's early work like Hannah Takes the Stairs. It came out 15 years before Barbie, but in comparison, it feels like an experiment. Denis Villeneuve made scrappy, messy films long before Sicario and Dune, but none of those people would have gotten to where they are without.
Man, this guy is quickly becoming. This guy might be my favorite director right now. Actually, I'm not sure. Denis Villeneuve, however you say it. I really like Sicario. I was just rewatching it, and then Dune. Come on, Dune is like perfection. That's like a masterpiece.
Those early films, which are still great even though they're rough. What made any of that work compelling wasn't perfection, it was that you could see their voice coming through. And that's the real reveal here. Perfection is just fear with better branding. When you tell yourself, I'll release that film when it's perfect, what you're actually saying is, I'm scared to be judged. But no one expects brilliance right out of the gate. No, what matters is consistency. You have to make things and finish them and then release them and then get better for the next one. You don't need perfection, you need a voice. And the only way to find it is by sharing before you feel ready. So at the end of the day, most of the advice new filmmakers obsess over isn't what actually matters when it comes to building a career in 2026. That's the stuff that's easy to measure, it's easy to copy, or even easier to buy. But filmmaking has never been about perfection or owning the perfect camera or memorizing the right formulas. It's about judgment and taste and curiosity. If you can let go of the pressure to stop waiting for permission and focus on the skills that actually matter, you'll be miles ahead of where most people get stuck at. So happy 2026 and happy shooting. See ya.
I like it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so I'm applying the sunray effect to this chimp shot, and I kind of like it. I like this black and white effect. I like this kind of feeling like the light is creeping through the canopy, the foliage, having it actually kind of pierce through at different points. I'm just trying to see what looks best in terms of where the lighting is facing. I usually don't like a super extreme example, but this is black and white, so I'm a little bit more open to doing like creative edits. So this is obviously too extreme, and then this is too. Trying to find the right balance of what looks most natural, but still creative. Okay, I think we'll go with this.
Look, everybody knows it's hard to build a great career as a filmmaker, especially these days. But the hardest part of that whole process isn't really what most people seem to think it is. Because in my opinion, it's not actually the beginning like most people would think, because that's when everything is new and exciting and you're learning something every day. And it's definitely not the part where you've established yourself and the work is flowing and you're getting calls from people you actually want to work with. Now, to me, the most frustrating stage is what I'll call the beginning of the middle. It's that in-between time when you've invested in the gear, maybe you've got a reel you're proud of, and you've put in enough practice that you don't suck anymore. But still, the work just isn't coming in. You've sent out the emails, posted your shorts to Vimeo or whatever, but nothing happens. In my experience, that's the most dangerous phase of your entire career because it's where people are most likely to quit. Not because they weren't talented enough, but because it's just genuinely depressing to be good at something but still not be able to make a living doing it. And I've been a working cinematographer for like 12 years now, and I still deal with all this stuff constantly. But from the outside looking in, it can seem like it's all just high-profile jobs and international flights. So today, I'm going to demystify the process by breaking down my last 3 jobs that total around $150,000 worth of work and show you exactly what it took to—
Well, hot damn, we've stumbled upon the right movie, not the right movie, the right video to watch. $150,000 for 3 film projects? Jesus.
To land them. Because all 3 of these came to me in completely different ways. None of them were fast or easy. And I think once you see how this process actually works, you'll stop thinking something's wrong with you so you can just get back to work. Okay, so before we get going, this is not an inspirational video where I tell you your dream clients are just an Instagram DM away. This is the real version where things don't fall into your lap. But instead of just telling you about a bunch of cool gigs I've landed over the years, I think it's way more useful to walk you through what it actually took to book them and how that process is messier and way more time consuming than people normally show on YouTube. And what I realized after putting this together is that all 3 of these jobs came to me in really different ways, which I think is actually the most useful thing about this video. Because once you see there's no magic formula, you can start to see the real process for what it is. And once you understand that, you can stop feeling sorry for yourself and focus on the things that matter. But before I get into the jobs themselves, I just want to take a second to quickly kill 2 big myths because they'll keep coming up as we go through these stories. First off, you don't need a lot of clients. This is something I see people stress about constantly, like they think they need to be juggling like 10 projects at once to be a real working professional. These days, I do maybe 3 or 4 major projects a year. That's it. And with that said, these aren't one-off day rates. They're long commitments where I'm away for weeks or maybe even months at a time. And I get that that might not be what you're getting offered right now, but just know that if you're stressing at the idea of having to find 20 clients a year for the rest of your life, you don't. You can work that way, and some people do prefer it, but you can also do really well for yourself with just a handful of deep relationships. Second, you don't have to be able to do everything.
This is encouraging video. Like we said, if you're new to my channel, one of the things that has happened recently, and one of the projects that I was on over the past 2 months was with CNN Create. They did say I can say that much. I can't speak on the actual project itself, but it should be hopefully released soon enough, and then I can talk about it. But that was definitely a huge ego boost. It was a it was a thrill to be a part of the project, and yeah, I think it turned out really well. It was cool to actually work with proper professionals, but I think that one definitely gave me a lot of motivation to keep going down this route of seeing how do I then also market myself as a cinematographer or whatever. Something popped through. HG, thank you very much for the sub on the YouTube side. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm just doing a chill stream today. Usually I'm trying to do like 5 streams a week while I'm at home, and I'm not traveling for the next month, I believe. So I'm using that time to catch up on the past 2 months of travel. And so I did a few different trips to Uganda and Tanzania, as well as Germany. And so now I'm just chilling. I'm working through a bunch of the photos from that trip, and then I'm watching some random videos here and there. But this guy's definitely got a lot of experience, and I feel like I can learn a lot from this. But I think, taking the right steps in the direction of marketing myself as a cinematographer, or whatever the right label is, but then being included on really cool projects in whatever capacity. So hopefully, fingers crossed, guys, that I don't somehow ruin my relationship, my budding relationship with CNN or some of these other guys. But yeah, I think I'm on that trajectory. We can get there, guys.
In fact, I think you're probably better off if you don't. Every single one of these 3 jobs hired me because I have a very specific style and a clear brand. In short, it's that I shoot verite-style documentaries, and I don't claim to do anything else. That's what my website shows, and by the way, I haven't updated that website since...
Okay, I need to update my website. Yo, this guy's working with National Geographic, Netflix. Oh, I need to do this though. Once that thing comes up, I can put Nikon for sure, and then CNN Create. I need to get National Geographic though.
It's 2019. I'm not out here rebranding every 6 months or chasing trends or posting random stuff that doesn't fit with that. Now, at the very start, you absolutely have to say yes to everything. I mean, you've got bills to pay and your reputation isn't established enough for you to be too choosy. I get it, take the work. But be intentional about what you call yourself and how you present yourself to the world, because here's the thing people don't realize. When you're known for one thing, people will actually come to you for crossover work you'd never expect. And you'll see proof of that later in this video when I talk about a gig for a major luxury brand that seems completely off for me based on my online presence. They hired me specifically because of my documentary reputation, not because I advertised being able to do a little bit of everything. And for what I'm seeing out here these days, it's not a great time to be a generalist. You can even see this in some of my favorite YouTube filmmaking channels, like someone like Danny Gevirtz has carved out a great niche for himself specializing in sports and small crew productions. Or Lewis Potts and The Wandering DP make these super highly crafted premium looking commercial frames. That doesn't mean never stepping out of that lane again, because you absolutely can, and I do all the time. But the sooner you can get intentional about who you are and what you do, the sooner people will understand what to come to you for. And once they get that, then they'll start seeing all the ways that style can work for their other projects. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's look at the jobs and how I got them. So the first one I'm going to talk about was a feature documentary called The Sandbox that I shot over the course of nearly a year. It's premiering at the Copenhagen International Film Festival this month, so depending on when you watch this and how close you live to Denmark, you could potentially hit the premiere. It'll be at some other big festivals around the world too, and when I'm allowed to talk about it, I'll drop the names and dates on Instagram, so you can go find me there. Anyways, The Sandbox is a really interesting experimental doc and quite different than a lot of the docs you might have seen before. It's all about surveillance technology around the world and how it's creeping into our lives after being tested on migrant populations, and it uses a lot of unusual techniques to create a kind of mood rather than a more linear story. We shot on the US-Mexico border, the Kenya-Somalia border, and then on a tiny Italian island in the middle of the Med, which was actually a lot closer to Libya than Europe. It's made by a really small team, and it's one of the most ambitious projects I've worked on in a long time. It wasn't easy, and the edit process was extremely complicated, but when I look back on the last couple of years, it's one of the things I'm happiest.
I think I can do this. I feel like that's been a growing confidence now, but I know I could do this. When the opportunity arises, and obviously I need to learn more about the different camera accessories and the different gears, because up until now I'm just shooting with my little handheld ZR camera. But in terms of being on set, in terms of being on these travel sets, especially the physical grinding nature of it, the intensity of it all, setting up these shots and everything, I feel like I can do this now. So yeah, that is definitely my ambition, guys. So if you are supporting me and whatever direction I take, just know that we've got bigger ambitions. So I appreciate you guys being here now. 1 year from now, okay, let's put these little goals in. But 1 year from now, you should be feeling like, oh yeah, this dude, he started from the bottom, now he's whatever. Yeah, we'll get there.
I was involved in. And I'm sure that sounds great, and I'm sure some people will already be in the comments section saying must be nice or something, but the origin story of this gig is about as unglamorous as it gets, and it's a great lesson in what goes into building new relationships. So when I first moved back to Toronto after almost 20 years away, I didn't know anyone in the local industry. I'd spent years working overseas, mostly in Asia and Mexico, and my network was built around New York production companies and international projects. So even though I was born here, coming to Toronto was basically basically like starting over. So I did what I'm guessing most of you watching this have tried before. I just started cold emailing. I made a big list, all the production companies I wanted to work with, every producer or director whose work I admired or liked, and then I sent them a link to my website with one of those notes about how much I'd love to work together. And if you've done this yourself, you'll already know how that went. Like 90% didn't answer at all, not even a note.
Oh shoot, I was thinking I need to do that with him. I was thinking like, oh, let me just email Luke and be like, hey, well, everything he just said. I was like, oh, hey, check it out.
No thanks, just silence. And the ones that did were polite, but clearly not interested. We've all gotten those emails, those thanks for reaching out, we'll keep you in mind, which really means please stop emailing us, we don't have anything right now, and that's totally fair. But there was one company out of them all that I really wanted to connect with, and I could tell from their response that they weren't saying no, they were just saying not now. They wrote back with that dreaded, we're pretty busy right now, check back in a couple of months. And honestly, they were probably hoping I'd go away, but instead I made a note in my calendar, and exactly 2 months later I followed up. Thanks for checking in, we're still at capacity, but check back again and we'll see if we're more free. This happened over and over again for like 11 months. They were politely trying to get me to go away, and I was just politely refusing to go away. I wasn't pushy about it. I wasn't showing up at their office randomly or emailing them constantly. I just kept following up and reminding them I existed and that I was still interested. And then one day, after almost a year of emails, this project got funded. They needed a DP who could work in international environments, and my name was on their list because I'd been putting it there for the last 11 months. So they gave me a call for a bit of a vibe check, we talked, and I got the gig. Now that's not really the coolest origin story. Like, it would have been a lot easier for me and them too, honestly, if I'd been there first and only thought from day one. Nobody wants to hear that the path to a feature doc premiering at an international film festival starts with almost a year of emails that mostly went nowhere. Even I didn't really know whether anything was going to come of it, but I want you to hear that because even after so many years of doing this professionally, I'm still grinding out work this way. So the lesson here is that reaching out still works, but only if you do it right and stick with it. Most of it gives back absolutely nothing, and that's normal and totally expected. But you only need one to land for it to be worth it. And the thing that separates the people who work from the people who don't isn't always talent alone. It's the willingness to keep showing up after that 15th email goes unanswered. And moving on from that, the second major job I did recently was as the lead DP for a multi-million-dollar doc series that I shot last year. It's currently being shopped around, so I really can't tell you much about it other than I was the lead cinematographer in charge of managing multiple other DPs and designing the entire look of the show from scratch. And because of that, it's probably the thing I've been most proud of in my career so far, no matter what happens with distribution down the road. When it comes out eventually, I'll tell you everything, but for now, the teaching moment is what matters, and honestly, the lesson here might be the most important one in this video. So this one came from a director I've worked with on and off again on a big network survival show over the years. I think I've done 4 seasons in total over the last 5 or 6 years. We've always had a great working relationship on that show, like we get along, he trusts me, and I'd like to think I over-deliver, and it just all around works. But here's the thing about that show. It has a format and a very specific look that's not necessarily focused on emotional documentary storytelling. My job on that show isn't to show off my personal creative vision, it's to nail the format that's made the show popular for almost 14 years or something, and I'd like to think I do it well, and the director values that, which is why I keep getting asked back. But it also means that that show was never really a showcase of what I could do when I was calling the shots creatively. And for the first couple of seasons we worked together, even though we got along really well, this director only really knew me as the guy who shows up and reliably executes that specific formula, which is great, don't get me wrong. That's how you get rehired, and there's been years where that show is my biggest income source all year. But it's also a creative box you can get stuck in. He didn't see me as an artist outside the confines of that show's style, he basically knew me as a camera operator who didn't mind getting rained on. And real quick sidebar here, going back to that myth of specialization, I only got on that show in the first place because there was a crew opening and they specifically wanted someone with more documentary experience than reality TV. So my name came up even though I'd never shot anything in that genre before, purely because I was known as a documentary DP. So being a specialist is literally what got me in the door for something outside my usual lane. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Anyways, back to the real story though, because the lesson isn't about working on that show at all. Because after working on my first 2 seasons of the show, I decided to take a break. I took about a year off from it so I could spend some time developing 2 personal projects. One was a feature doc about tree planters that was one of the hardest things I've ever done physically and emotionally and financially really. Basically the kind of project that takes everything out of you without really giving much back. And the other one was a short film about a surfer that I made with a friend that was really about just being creative with no constraints and no clients, like no format to follow. Both of these were my projects and my vision, and I made them on my own terms. So when I eventually came back to that show, even though we went back to the same format that makes the show a hit, during our downtime I was able to show that director what I've been working on during my break. And even though I don't want to speak for him, once I showed him enough of this stuff, I could almost see something shift in the way he thought of me. Up until then, like I said, he knew me as the guy who nails that format, but now he was looking at this work that was completely different, like more personal and more emotionally driven, and dare I say more cinematic. And I genuinely think it changed how he thought of me. I went from being his reliable format shooter to someone with a genuine creative voice. So when a big opportunity came his way, something that needed a brand new creative vision, not just someone who could execute a template, he brought me with him. And it became the biggest, most creatively fulfilling project of my entire career. Like I said, I got to build the entire style of a show from the ground up and hire some incredibly talented people to help me pull it off. And here's what I want you to take away from this. If I'd never made those personal projects and shown them to people, that call probably never happens. Sure, he'd still think of me as his dependable guy who can shoot in a blizzard without complaining, but he'd probably have called someone else for the more creative gig. The point is that the work you make for yourself, the stuff you might not get paid for, and you might even lose a lot of money on like I did, that's the stuff that shows what you can really do. Those aren't vanity projects. Those are the things that show people who you are and what you can really do. It's your audition tape for the jobs you actually want, except nobody knows it's an audition until you show it to them. Like when I took that time off, I thought it might have been a huge mistake to pass on the reliable paycheck, but ultimately without taking those risks, I'd have missed out on the good stuff long term. So pretty cool, and I hope that's helpful. So the third gig was a little different. It's a commercial campaign, and I'm pretty heavily NDA'd, so I can't tell you who it's for. I'll just say it's a major luxury fashion brand, like think Rolex or Louis Vuitton type thing, but not those. And on paper, this is the last kind of project you'd expect someone like me to book. Like I just got done telling you that I only market myself as a documentary cinematographer who specializes in verite. So in other words, I'm not the guy you'd call to light a $10,000 watch on a white seamless with a team of stylists on standby. And that's exactly the point. They didn't hire me for that. This relationship started almost 7 years ago when I was still living in Mexico, and at the time I was shooting mostly docs about the drug trade, like cartels, violence, immigration, that kind of thing. And then out of nowhere, a production company on behalf of that luxury brand reaches out. They were launching an international award for innovation, and they had nominees in something like 40 countries around the world, and what they needed was short documentary style films about each nominee's life and work. Not commercials, actual mini docs, just paid for by the brand. And they needed someone who could go to remote places with a small crew and make something that felt real and intimate and human. That's why they came to me. For the first year of the campaign, the budget was pretty limited considering who we were working for, honestly. They sent me to rural Guatemala to profile one of these nominees, and it was just me and an assistant that they didn't even have the budget to pay for, so I had to hire myself out of my salary. And honestly, I was pretty frustrated for most parts of that shoot, mostly because I thought I wasn't getting paid enough, and I wasn't really. There were moments where I wanted to fire off these really aggressive emails about how things were being handled and how unfair it was that they expected me to do everything completely alone in a foreign country
saying hi
without any help.
Stinkies.
But as much as I wanted to, I didn't.
Well, I appreciate the nickname coming from a place of love, I'm sure. Hello, my friend. How are you doing? Oh yeah, I fired off a message to you while I was streaming. What did I say? I don't even remember. I was kind of half. Oh yeah, I said yes, please. If you can put it together for me. Yeah. So Cyronius, yes. I know I keep messaging you saying, oh, we need to chat, and then things get in the way, and I forget. All right, other things get in the way. That's the point. But I'm supposed to have a call with the Safari company tomorrow, and so I'll have a bit more clarity in terms of when I will hopefully go out to Kenya to do the live stream pilot. But as part of that, obviously, I wanted to make sure I have all the parts necessary. And so one of the missing things is a Starlink, which hopefully, so our boy Swiss Army Cinema in the chat, he, fingers crossed, but he should hopefully be able to join me depending on the dates and everything. But possibly he's bringing his Starlink, and then I just need to figure out how to get a freaking Starlink. It is technically available now in Dubai. But if last time I checked, it didn't actually deliver to Dubai. So how fun is that? It could just be maybe the home product one is available, but let's say if I want to get this unlimited one. But yeah, so anyways, I need to figure out this Starlink situation, but then separately, obviously trying to figure out the BellaBox solution. And it's been such a long time since we like chatted about it, so I've already forgotten all the technical things that were important. So if you can help a brother out and remind me, and then also like how could what does it take? Because if I remember, it was like we need this Bella Box Raspberry Pi solution, and then you have to pay for the cloud service. So you need one of these orange, or yeah, whatever, these orange Pi type solution, plus the cloud solution, so I can use the, yeah, for my travels, let's say. And then 2, there has to be like some kind of backpack or like some kind of rigging where you strap the Velcros or whatever fun little jerry rigging thing you do to get it inside of a nice container. And then, yeah, that's as much as I remember. But I definitely need your help. So if you can just tell me, let me know, like, if you can remind me what are the exact products needed. My assumption, in an ideal world, it would be, yeah, if you tell me what it is, how much it costs, blah, 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 and if you're able to build it for me, because I don't have any of those skills. And then if it's able to be shipped to the UAE, obviously that'd be great. I have no idea if there are some restrictions on certain products being shipped. I know sometimes with like big batteries and things like that, it's not allowed to be shipped to Dubai. But hopefully this Raspberry thing is fine. But yeah, those are things we can work around for sure. But yeah, I think it'd be great if you can help me with that. And also because, oh yeah, perfect. I'm on the right thing here. So I was talking about this the other day in terms of like what kind of live stream would be really fun to do. And I was going through some of the DJI Studio. I was going through some of the 360 camera shots that I took. Dang it. I'll just do it later. All right, so I think we were going through this previously. So I was like just kind of explaining how, imagine, I definitely want to get to a point where if I'm on a travel and let's say I'm in this swamp, and technically I think I should be able to connect with like a cell connection. So I don't think I need a Starlink for this. But if I were to have an IRL backpack similar to what you shoot with, Cyronius, something super mobile such that I could fit it inside of this this boat, and probably it'd just be like a 1-camera system, right? Whatever action camera works best. But if I can just have like a single camera so people can follow along with me when we're on the ride. So like imagine even, well, I doubt it can be this cinematic or whatever, but just having a camera throughout the boat ride, and then once we arrive on scene for the wildlife, hold on, can I find? Yeah, so like imagine something like this. So I imagine it would require some kind of shoulder strap attached back camera. I do have an Osmo Pocket, right? So I have an Osmo Pocket 3. So I wonder if that could work if it's attached, and if I'm wearing a backpack, or even if it's in this backpack, and then all the cabling or whatever wiring is necessary. But I don't know if it's as simple as that. I say simple, but is it as simple as that where you just need a single camera hooked up wirelessly or through a cable to whatever, like the Bella Box solution, and then as long as you have a cell connection, let's say if I have like a 4G connection here, then I could technically go live. Would be nice. So then this would be like the mobile solution when I just need a single camera, no fluff, and just be able to stream with a cell connection. And then obviously the Jeep Safari is where I would have the Starlink and the multi-camera with the video switcher plus the Bella Box and all that. What do you use that for? You already have a chest mount of some sort? Yeah, I have. So this thing is the new cotton carrier vest that I purchased for these trips. So I was mainly using it for my jungle treks, so like for the gorillas and the chimpanzees. So then it's like a dual camera holster. So I have a camera on the front, like the chest holster here, and then I have one for this side. So that way I can go on a trek with ease. And then I hooked up a Osmo DJI Action 6 camera to the shoulder strap. I had an Osmo Nano on my hat. And then the 360 camera, in this case, I just had it on a selfie stick that I was holding. but I also have one of those little small rig or Tilta articulating arms or whatever to hook it up directly to the side of my camera on the cage. So, but yeah, anyways, I was using this for, obviously I didn't live stream. This is just recording. I'm reviewing after the fact. It would be cool if you could hook up a 360 camera to a live stream, but I guess it wouldn't really work because how would you be able to move things around? But my understanding is that Osmo Pocket technically can hook up for live streams. So even if I just ended up using the Osmo Pocket to do that, I mean, I wonder if that would work. You said the Osmo Pocket can be used via USB in. YouTube had that feature, but select cameras, I think 360 on YouTube Live. Ooh, interesting. Man, because if I could, the 360 camera is amazing. Like if there was a world where I could have a 360 camera running and then someone remotely is able to kind of just keep adjusting the, like literally adjusting the view for the audience to see, that would be super awesome. So then I can just imagine like a remote operator in this case is like just move. I'm just using my mouse, obviously. But if I can just switch it around so people can see what's happening. Look how tired I look, Jesus. I promise you this is just my resting face, but inside I'm not depressed. I swear. You can have live tracking with a 360 camera. I don't recall. No shot. You can have live tracking? It took me a second to register what you said. I don't recall which one, but there's some IRL streamer I saw on Instagram that has a face cam on his setup. Oh, so it like tracks, like a motion tracking setup. I know the Osmo Pocket can do that. I guess that has a lot of value too. But there's also something interesting about just manually choosing in a 360 degree, whatever you want. Like for example, let's say once we spot, in this case, we spot the shoe bill. And I had this on a long selfie stick, I think. But then, you could just move it around. Because obviously here, you don't want it necessarily to point at just me. Because you want to get the environmental shots. You want to see what I'm shooting. Now, technically, I guess it could be face tracking if I hook up my camera to the Bella box as well somehow as like a secondary camera. So I can switch between this camera view and the Osmo Pocket. So maybe it's like a 2-camera system on a live stream like this. So then it'd be like one that's pointing at me with the Osmo Pocket or something, and then switching to my camera view so anyone else can see exactly what it is that I'm shooting. So then it could like hop over to this view. So you're like, oh, okay, this is what he was shooting. Or let's see if there's a better example. I'm trying to simulate to make it feel a bit more real. Oh, and what would be even cooler is if I could hook up the Osmo Nano. The Osmo Nano has quickly become one of my favorite cameras from my travels. Because now you get like a proper point of view. Here, I'll just play a bit of it. Now it's like a proper, you're getting that point of view of what it's like to be me. So if somehow an Osmo Nano camera could be hooked up to a live stream to be the actual main camera, I just prefer this kind of style where you get the head tilts, you get like exactly where I'm looking. It just feels a bit more, what would be the word, organic? Cyrona says, I don't recall. Oh yeah, okay, you mentioned the face camera on his setup. Yeah, I think that one must be like an Osmo Pocket with the face tracking. But yeah, so being able to switch between, okay, not to overly complicate, but let's say, where is a good example? Let's go to 50. Yeah, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. just mimic it. Although I guess I would be shooting in log. How would that work? So then in a live stream, it would be something like you get to see behind the scenes. Let's say if there's like whatever simple action camera setup, which is super lightweight. I would have the Bella box. I have to wear the backpack with everything, I guess. And so you have this view, and then at the right times, I would hit a button and switch over to my camera shot, which wouldn't look as color graded as this, but at the very least, you would almost like all of a sudden get like the, this is what his camera is saying. Interesting. So that would be such a cool experience to create. And I think it would be possible for certain environments like this one example, because I think there was cell connection throughout. So I imagine if I had like the Bella box and whatever, a couple Sims hooked up, this could work. Cyrones had said, what was it? You need an Orange Pi 5 Plus, an SD card, power bank, enclosure, Wi-Fi dongle, and cables. Man, when you say it like that, it sounds a little bit simpler than I expect. But I know it's obviously difficult once you construct it. But all of those parts do seem like it should be fine to have it shipped. So, yeah, we can take it offline, but we'll definitely appreciate your support on that. Seeing if we can buy up the parts or whatever else is needed. You tell me if it's easier for you to do it all, and then just tell me how much it costs at the end of it, and I pay you, or pay you up front or whatever. Like, I mean, this is definitely something I'm committing to. So we're going to make this a reality. Yeah, I guess, okay, so if I had a Bella box, if I had an IRL backpack, from that backpack, we've got via USB connecting an Osmo Pocket 3. Realistically, it would have to be through the shoulder strap, so I wouldn't be able to get this kind of a point of view. If anything, it's probably more like the Action 6. So where's my Action 6 shots? Oh yeah, these ones. Okay. So more realistically, oh wait, hold on. Is this the Action 6? Or is it this? Oh, this is the Action 6. Okay. So realistically, it would be more like this. Maybe this is like the Osmo Pocket 3 or 4. Maybe I need to get that. Let's find a moment. Yeah, probably it would have to be Osmo Pocket 3 because I can tilt it upwards. Because here I think it was a bit too down. Just want to find a good example. Okay, something like this. So then it could be something like this is my main IRL streaming camera point of view, hooked up to the backpack or the shoulder strap. And then I would have my microphone. Then I guess the simplest solution is what Cyronis you've done, where I don't hook up the camera. It's just the moment I take a photo, it just pops up on the screen for a few seconds to show the shot was taken. However, in my case, because I do more video than photos, that's where I was thinking, like, maybe if I just have a wireless HDMI receiver hooked up to the camera, and that could be hooked up to the backpack kit. So then it just works as a second camera input, or like a second video input. And then I just need to switch to that when I'm ready to show people whatever it is that I'm filming. So like in this example here, I guess it'd be like, okay, we're just watching this streamer through his IRL streaming kit. It's a nice little point of view style. And then let's look for a moment where I point the camera, and then I would need to switch over. But yeah, oh yeah, so this is that small rig attachment. So here technically is where I would, this is where I would attach the Osmo 360, but I was using the selfie stick previously. That's why it's not there. Let me just speed it up. I'm trying to see if I... Okay, here we go. So then what would happen is the moment, let's see here. Okay, so when I go to take a shot like you see me doing now, then at some point I could then hit the switch to switch from this camera, the action camera point of view, to then switch to video input source number 2, which I wonder if I can just jump to that actual moment. Oh wait, oh I could find it. Dang it. Cause I don't know what I was filming it at. Perfect. It was this one. Yeah, so then we'd switch to video or camera number 2. So then it would switch to this view so people can see exactly what I'm shooting. Although realistically it wouldn't look as color graded, so it would just be like the flat version of it, which is fine because I think even if it looks flat, it's still a clean shot. So then people can see all of this is what I was recording or whatever moment. Okay. So these are food for thought, things that I need to kind of obviously brainstorm. So Cyronius, I don't know if you're still here, but let's, I'll definitely hit you up offline and see if there's further discussion so we can start prepping that up. But yeah, we'll see, fingers crossed. But yeah, I think tomorrow that's the important call that I'm going to have. I need to make sure. Cyronius is saying, how long are you streaming for? I don't know. I started a bit late today. It's just past 11 p.m. my time. So technically I should kind of start winding down. Tomorrow I mentioned I have that, the meeting with the Safari company. So I just need to make sure I have some time to prep and I don't oversleep. But yeah, no, I'm not sure why. Why do you ask? Do you need me to stay streaming a bit longer to kind of brainstorm this? Or do you want me to end the stream to take care of things offline? You tell me. We'll go in the direction you're leaning towards. Just the chat afterwards? Okay. Well, listen then. I'm going to take that as, you know what? Maybe I'll start winding things down. Let me just double check first. How far did I get with the photo edits here? I am actually kind of... This photo is turning out a bit nice. I was a little bit concerned that I wouldn't be able to pull from this one just because it was kind of shot really dark at the time. But I think this one's not bad. So I'll just call this one complete for now. How many more shots do we have from this day of shooting? These could be fun to edit. Okay, that's it. Yeah, so we don't have... Oh, no, there's a bit more. Whoops. Some shots of my guests. So right behind me were the chimps. So yeah, there they are. So these will definitely be fun to edit. Now, again, the problem is there's a bit of scattered light on the subject, so we'll see if it turns out okay or if it's gonna be a bit distracting. Some blurry shots of the chimps, but it's in action, so I don't mind the motion blur too much. And then these ones could be good, or again, with the harsh light that kicks in on the forehead, it might be a little bit too much. Oh yeah, and then these ones will be fun to edit, because at least here we got soft light everywhere. So, okay, so that will be for tomorrow's stream, because there's a lot of content here, so I'm not going to get it done in the next like 20 minutes or so. Okay, this is like okay, so tomorrow's stream, we'll do some proper, nice wildlife photo edits. Because I did get some clean shots here. Okay. All right. So that's enough photos to keep me busy tomorrow. Yeah. So I don't think we need to proceed further with the photo edits. How far was I with that YouTube video? I had so many lined up. Where are you? Okay, let me just finish this video out, Cyronius, because it's just less than 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
I might have been constantly arguing with them in my head, but I still gave it everything I had, and I delivered the best film I could under the circumstances. And in the end, the campaign went really well, and next year they came back and hired me to shoot another doc in Mexico. And then another year after that, when I moved back to Canada, they gave me the Canadian nominees. And counting this most recent one, I've now done 5 of them. Every year I get an email from their team asking where I am in the world and what my availability looks like, and then they just match me with the closest person. And over the years, the campaign has gotten bigger and better funded every single year. My salary now is literally 5 times what I got for the first one, and when I say I need an assistant now, they just don't push back at all. In short, it's turned into a great gig that I hope keeps coming for a long time to come. And I want to be really specific about what happened here because I think it's a really important lesson, because this wasn't some huge break. The first gig was small and frustrating, and I could have easily phoned it in or been difficult about the budget and been totally within my rights. But because I showed up anyways and did professional work even when the conditions weren't ideal, they came back. Then they came back again and again. And each time the scope grew and the trust deepened and the money got better. That's how the best client relationships are built, over time. They might start with a small gig that you have every reason to be annoyed about, but the question is, do you show up anyways? Because long term, it's so much easier to keep an old client than find a new one. And that one relationship compounded over the years now gives me this reliable shot of income at the start of every year, and it's become one of the most consistent paydays I have. You have no idea what might come of it down the road. Okay, so those are the last 3 jobs I did, and all 3 took completely different paths to land. One came from cold outreach and refusing to take a hint for almost a year. One came from a long working relationship that only turned into something bigger because I went off and made my own stuff that showed my real voice. And one came from treating a small, frustrating gig like it was the most important job in the world, and then letting that relationship compound over years until it eventually turned into something great. So if there's a common thread here, it's really that none of this was fast or predictable. That's the part that nobody seems to want to put into a YouTube video because it doesn't make for a great thumbnail to say, do the same thing every day for 7 years and it might eventually work out. But that's the truth. And look, I know that's hard to hear when you're in the stage, when you're good and you know you're good, but the phone isn't ringing and you're wondering whether you should just go do something else with your life. I've been there and it just doesn't go away because you're good at what you do. The difference is that now I have enough evidence to trust the process, and that's what I'm trying to give you here. Not motivation, just evidence. 3 real jobs that came from different strategies, all of which took way longer than I expected them to, but all of which actually worked. So keep reaching out even if nobody's answering, and keep making stuff on your own even when nobody's paying for it. Keep treating every job like it's the one that's gonna matter because you genuinely have no idea which one it's gonna be that takes off. You don't know what seeds are gonna grow, but if you want a career that lasts, you just have to keep planting stuff. See ya.
Well, unironically, I will reach out to this guy. So if I don't forget, I'm going to try to set up an email structure and shoot him a quick message. And if anything, I'll be like, hey, I saw your video where you talked about being annoying and reaching out to someone for a year. I am going to be that guy. So if anything, he has no one to blame but himself for my pestilence. Okay. All right. I'll edit this one tomorrow further and get it, get it to how I like it. But for now, I think we're good to pause. Okay, I'm getting distracted. All right, yeah, we'll stop. So this will be tomorrow's photo that we work on and push from there. Fingers crossed that it turns out good. All right, I wanna, Cyronius, if you are still here, I mean, thanks for being here. Oh, my cat is half cut off and we got Nala over here. All right, I'm gonna wind down now. So I'll send you a quick message on the Discord. If you're available, would be great to chat further. Everyone else, thank you very much for those of you who hopped in at different points. Katzenell and Boggin, thank you again for the donation. I appreciate it very much. Thanks to the new subs over on the YouTube side as well. So great stream as always. I appreciate it. Tomorrow I'll be back. Fingers crossed. Hopefully I could stream a bit earlier tomorrow. I did start a little late today. But then regardless, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. So we'll see. Okay. Is that it? Anything else? Anything else to talk about? Do we have our cat? Yeah. All right. Say goodbye to Kimbap. And goodbye, Kimbap. Yeah. And goodbye, Nala. All right. Cool. Cheers, guys. Bye.